Coming up, live football. Blackburn-Chelsea at 1, Sky Sports 1. Fulham-Newcastle at 3:30, also Sky Sports 1. And live NFL. The Buffalo Bills at the Patriots at 6, Sky Sports 2.
This is Sky Sports Live.
It's been 5 weeks since the new season kicked off in treacherous wet conditions at the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands. 17 cars lined up on the grid, only 7 finished the feature in an action-packed race day that saw Malaysia and France come out on top.
Massive accident.
Oh, and Hook Jumps lost it.
Jeremy, that's a lot of damage.
Oh, can you believe it? Charlie Kimball is off.
Out of control.
France wins in the wet at Zandvoort.
After missing out in Zandvoort, Team GBR are back with a new driver, Danny Watts. He's looking forward to the challenge.
The pressure's going to be on to perform on the circuit over the course of the weekend. So I'm going to just do my best, give 110% and work well with the team, and we'll see where we're at.
This weekend, A1GP returns to China, but it's racing at a new venue, Chengdu. Today, it's race day. Yes, A1GP is back in China for the 6th time, but this time it's racing on a new track and has a few new names on show too. This weekend has plenty to live up to after an entertaining opener in Holland a few weeks ago. The time between then and now has meant we almost have a full grid for Chengdu, and Team GBR gets its first shot at glory with Danny Watts at the wheel. Here to preview and enjoy the race day action with me, motor racing expert Tony Jardine and A1 test driver Johnny Kane. Tony, it has been 5 weeks since Zandvoort, wet and wild conditions there. What can we expect from Chengdu?
Well, first of all, it's going to be dry. A lot of people are going to, for the first time, try their A1GP Ferrari cars and dry. Secondly, it's a circuit that has never hosted an international event at all. It's quite fast and flowing in the first bit. It's very tight and tough in the last part of it. It's dusty, it's bumpy. It's going to be a real challenge for all the cars and the drivers.
Johnny, the track is an unknown quantity, as Tony was saying. Does that mean the drivers are really going to earn their money this weekend?
Well, they should earn their money every weekend, really. But yeah, it's a fair playing field for everybody. No one's really raced there before. It is very bumpy, but you know, that'll suit some drivers and hurt others. And I think the better drivers will stand out here.
By the way, for news on who is in the driving seats for their respective nations today, just keep an eye on the bottom of your screen. Let's talk about Team GBR and Danny Watts, a new driver, impressive in qualifying. He has pole for the feature. Great way to start your debut in A1.
Yeah, and the thing is, Georgie, he's competing for his seat. He knows that. And he's really a mate of yours, I think, Johnny, but they've got a lot of experience together, and in particular Danny, 10 years of top line experience, and he's put this all together. The team of work, you know, they had 4 hours sleep in 48 hours. When I was down there seeing the car being built and talking to Danny, it was unbelievable amount of work, and for him to score a pole position, which a car which has just been bolted together, is an impressive performance. And on a very difficult track, it just shows how much experience Danny Watts has. Ignore the fact that he's been driving sports cars for the last couple of years. He's a good single-seater driver.
Yeah.
Johnny, if he does win today, does he have the seat for the season?
Well, I think just from qualifying performance, he's done a very good job of putting himself in a position to get the seat for the rest of the year. You know, he's performed phenomenally well so far, and let's hope he goes well in the races.
And let's talk about Adam Carroll as well, who had a nightmare start to the season, managed to spin out in not just the sprint race, but also the feature race in Zandvoort. Has he got a point to prove here, Tony?
He's looking for redemption, isn't he? I mean, it was terrible. We're talking about a seasoned GP2 winner here. We're talking about a guy who was Honda Formula One test driver. And I rate Adam Carroll very, very highly. But elementary mistakes were made in the wet. When he was coming round for the start of the sprint race, he spun off from that position and he took out Team Monaco as well. And then it all went wrong again in the feature race. He really has got to nail it and get a good result, because they've been quick in qualifying with that pole, and they've been quick right throughout practice and had a good test session at Silverstone.
Let's take a look at the points table after Zandvoort, because it's just a one race weekend old this season. But here's how it looks. Malaysia and France topping the points table after their victories in the sprint and feature in Holland. New Zealand with the young and talented El Bamba in the driving seat third. Netherlands always impressive on their home track, so they're in fourth at the moment. Last season's champion Switzerland in seventh. Let's just pick up on a couple of those points raised from that points table. France had a great opener, Johnny, but they've got Nicolas Prost in the driving seat this weekend. How much pressure is on him, bearing in mind what Loic Duval did in the opener?
Well, I think quite a lot of pressure. Obviously, he's following up from a good race for Loic Duval, and he wants to impress the team himself and prove why they've chosen him. And I think he's been doing quite a good job up until now in practice and qualifying, but he was a little bit unfortunate. He came across a slow car in qualifying, and it really caught him out and made quite a big error. So
you've been kind to him.
it's I think, you know, he's got to try and prove himself in the race now and try and make amends for that.
Yeah, New Zealand's El Bamba claimed 2 podiums on his race debut. So why, Tony, have New Zealand plumped for Chris van der Drift this weekend?
Well, we've gone through all the websites, we've tried to find answers. We can only think it's a rotational crop basis, that you plant one and then seed another, because Chris van der Drift has won the Formula Masters, he's done well in GP2 Asia, but so far he hasn't really shone for me. He's been complaining a lot about the bumps, and David Sears said to him, get on with it.
OK, well, Zandvoort, as you well know, has been and gone. We're in the middle of Chengdu. Here's a check on where else A1GP plans to visit this season. An almost full lineup will feature in Chengdu, China this weekend, one of 4 new tracks for Season 4. A fortnight later, and the series is back at the state-of-the-art Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia. That's before the Christmas break. A1GP starts 2009 in New Zealand. The scenic Taupo, the setting for the 4th race weekend of the season. Then it's a street race for the first time in Jakarta, Indonesia. Before a trip to Johannesburg in South Africa. That's later in the month. March sees A1GP make the journey to Mexico City. On the 12th of April, we're in the Algarve in Portugal for the penultimate race in the calendar. That's before the season end finale on the 3rd of May. The venue's been confirmed for that one. Again, it's Brands. One man that'll be hoping he'll be involved in some of those exciting upcoming races is Team GBR's new driver, Danny Watts. Tony caught up with him last week and started by asking him what he thought about the new car.
I would say that it's a big step up in all areas. So probably the biggest thing, braking. Carbon brakes has made a big difference. You can now brake a lot later, a lot harder. You've got better stopping performance. Aerodynamics is a lot better. High-speed cornering is quicker. And also the power is a little bit more. But because of the extra downforce, you don't really feel that so much. So in all areas, the car is definitely a step forward.
Now, you came to the ranks of single-seaters, Formula 3. What other Formulae have you driven to qualify for A1GP?
Well, my career recently has been more sort of sports car GT stuff. Recently we did Petit Le Mans and LMP1 Zytek. Previous to that, Formula 3, 2.5 years of that in the British Championship. I won the Formula Renault UK Championship back in 2002. So yeah, it's been mainly single-seaters, but more recently sort of Porsche Super Cup GT spec racing.
Now, your partner Fiona Leggett and yourself, quite a racy couple, because she was arguably the best lady BTCC driver in the land. You're now expecting a baby. Is that going to slow you down at all, Danny?
Well, I suppose she's probably arguably faster than me, better looking, richer, so maybe she should have the drive, you know, and I should be at home babysitting. But no, yeah, it's going to be a big change in life, isn't it? And well, who knows, maybe it'll be out in karting soon. We'll see.
How times have changed. Danny Watts, the modern man. Well, before all the serious stuff got underway this weekend, several of the drivers were taken to meet and train with players from the local Chinese Super League football team, the Chengdu Blades. Here's Diana Binks with more.
This weekend in China saw the drivers pit their skills against the Chinese Super League's Chengdu Blades, a match that attracted plenty of local attention from fans and media alike.
The reason for this morning is that the A1 drivers who I'd like to welcome here this morning and the Chengdu Blades players will play a game.
Let's put this up.
Well, if we can get the ball.
Now I'm professional, huh?
With the formalities over, the drivers thought they were ready for a kick in the park, but the Blades coach had other ideas and put their lack of skill to the test in an unexpected training session.
Hey, go, get the rebound. Well done, good, yes.
Then it was time for the action to get underway and let the competition begin. It was a great start to the match for the A1GP drivers, who were up against some of the Blades' star names, including Ma Ming-Lu, former captain of the Chinese national team. By half-time, it was the Blades who had fought back to take a 3-2 advantage, so it was time to talk tactics.
We need to have at least three defenders, but all the time, not never going forward.
With the half-time talk clearly working, it was the A1GP drivers who took the advantage. When the Chengdu Blades goal scorer Tony Zhu was sent off for arguing with the ref, it seemed victory was there for the taking. In the dying seconds of the game, it was the Blades who scored a last-gasp goal, forcing a penalty shootout. As the tension mounted, the pressure told on the A1GP drivers as they finally lost out 3-2 on penalties.
Well, they elected me as the captain of the team. A lot of pressure on it. I needed to do the strategy. I'm a bit used to play football at home with my friends sometimes, but it was a good fun.
Unfortunately, no goal. But you know, we had a big advantage. I think we had about 4 players more on the field, but it was fun.
Initially, everybody was supposed to play one half, but in the end, I think we all ended up in the field playing against the Chengdu Blades, and it was a great game.
All that was left to do was exchange shirts, and then it was back to the circuit so that the real work could begin.
I was going to say stick to your day jobs, chaps, but I think they actually did better than I thought they were going to do. After the break, we'll take a closer look at the track in Chengdu and hear from the drivers ahead of race day, including Adam Carroll, who secured a first ever pole for the Irish in a sprint race.
Oh, good lap from Adam Carroll.
Garland might take the flag. Adam Carroll's got provisional pole.
The Carling Cup 4th round live on Sky Sports.
What a fantastic finish.
Tuesday, 7:30, Wenger's Young Guns.
Beautifully worked, clinically finished.
Face a tough test against Wigan.
Oh, what a goal.
Then on Wednesday at 7, Harry Redknapp's Spurs.
Have you go?
Face Liverpool.
That is quite incredible.
In association with Skybet.com. Tuesday and Wednesday, live on Sky Sports.
Now you can ask us questions again, and again, and again, for free. Text 118118 once and we'll answer all your questions for the rest of the day for free. If you can't think of anything now, text joke to 118118 to get you started.
Yo, yo.
Stage 1 now.
Corsa with MP3 connection. Discover Vauxhall.
Be more Bond and win big with the new James Bond scratch card from the National Lottery.
As the world's population grows, we need to find different sources of energy. It may take a creative leap. Like using natural gas instead of oil, to create a gas-to-liquids fuel. To find out how Shell is preparing for the new energy future, visit shell.co.uk. Real energy.
Excuse us, ladies. Thank you.
O2 customers can get priority tickets for the O2 up to 48 hours before general release. You're our priority. Text priority to 2020 to register.
Corsa now with no deposit and 0% finance. Offer ends 2nd of December.
Connect to everything you love in life with BlackBerry.
Welcome back to Chengdu, China. It's A1GP race day. Plenty to look forward to for the fans of Team GBR as they make their season debut today. There's some big challenges ahead for the drivers who continue to familiarise themselves with the new car. Today, they've got a new track to deal with as well. John Watson has a breakdown of the Chengdu circuit.
A1GP paid their first visit to the Chengdu International Circuit in China, where John Watson was joined by local driver Ho Ping Tung.
Ho Ping, we're back in your home country, China, and a brand new venue in Chengdu.
Yeah, we are. And the track itself looks very exciting, especially here. The main straight, start-finish straight, as you can see, very wide and the perfect opportunity to use your push-to-pass, power boost button. Going into the first corner, one of the best places I think on this track, probably the only one, real good one, to overtake. But as you can see, it's also quite bumpy under braking, so you will see a lot of locking inside wheels going into the long turn one.
So you think that drivers are going to go side by side actually at this part of the racetrack, and then, well, if they're side by side here, how are they both going to get out of the corner without touching?
Well, nobody knows, of course, because there are just a few drivers who have driven here before. But I think there will be, especially at the start, there will be more lines possible. But we'll have to find out in the free practice whether there's enough grip on the outside to actually take this line.
Hoping as you come up to the completion of a lap, you've got a chicane. And I have to say, if I've ever seen a wing-wrecking chicane on any racetrack, that's it.
Yeah, well, especially if you have a good exit and a quick right-hander before, you might want to make a move going into the chicane. But you have to make sure the other driver is not going to cut to the inside, because there's no space to avoid an accident and hitting the curb and having a fair chance to take off your front wing.
3.3 kilometres in length, 13 corners, and turn one comes up under the bridge, but look at the bumps under braking as you go into turn one. Two blends, and then the exit of the corner is very straightforward. Back to the right-hand side of the circuit, and hard braking, the bumps again right on the line. An unnaturally high water table here at Chengdu causes water to seep through, and inevitably it's always on the apex of a corner. Immediately you have a quick flick to the left, and then there's a charge down to the very bumpy, look at those bumps, entering turn 5. Keep the car neat here, because immediately you have to cut back to the right for turn 6, and again, look, water on the apex, then back to the left for turn 7, and now climb uphill into turn 8. It opens up and blends into turn 9, one of the quickest corners here in Chengdu. The run down into turn 10 is downhill, so easy on the brakes, make your apex, and then immediately back to the right for this 3-part turn 11. The final part, of course, leads into the notorious chicane, turns 12, and 13. Well done, hoping. You stayed off those curbs. You survived the lap. And we're now back onto the main straight where we'll see speeds up to 270 kilometers per hour on this Chengdu International Circuit.
Johnny Kane and Tony Jardine have been watching that with me. Chaps, usually the home drivers have a home advantage at home circuits. That's not the case here. Johnny, what's your take on that track?
Well, as you say, it's a new track for most people. For sure, the best overtaking spot is down into turn 1, an extremely long pit straight, and I think that's where we're going to see a lot of action into turn 1. The midsection looks quite flowing actually, but very bumpy. It almost looks like you're watching a champ car race from a street circuit in America. Only little bit that I think is a bit dull is the final chicane. It takes a little bit of the flow away from the circuit, but it's a slow corner and important to get a really good exit out of there onto the pit straight.
Tony, is the key going to be for the teams to get the car to be as smooth as possible in setup, bearing in mind the bumps out there?
Yeah, I think it's a compromise because, as Johnny was saying there, the first part of the circuit is fast and flowing, and then you've got the tight Nadri bit at the end. So it's a compromise. You want the car to soak up the bumps and still be stable over the bumps, as stable as possible. But as Marco Andretti said, who's making his debut today, he's driven on worse street circuits at Surfers Paradise, for example, where the curbs are absolutely vicious. But I think for this, especially in the feature race, it's a long race, and especially for drivers who are not fit enough, over all those bumps, it keeps you on your toes the whole time. You take a battering inside the cockpit. So it's a point of them lasting the distance in the 2 pit stops, as well as having the car performing well.
A double whammy, I suppose, and the fact they're still getting used to this new A1 car as well.
Yeah, most of them had Zandvoort in very, very bad wet conditions. This is the first time they've really had a chance to have practice sessions in the dry, and we can see a little bit of water coming through on some of the curbs on the circuit, but generally it's a dry track, and they'll be able to push a bit harder this weekend.
Yeah, dust was an issue in practice and in qualifying as well. Could it be a problem today?
Yeah, quite easily. There's a part where young Nicholas Prost went off trying to go past Correa, who was slowing down and going on their in-lap. And he tried to skate past him, desperate to keep on his very fast lap. He got offline, got on the dust. How he didn't collect the wall, I don't know. He's very, very lucky indeed. And France were quite upset by that. Not least, of course, Nicholas, who reckoned he was on for a front row.
Yeah, stay tuned because we're going to show you that in just a second. Yesterday, the drivers did state their claims for a good starting place in today's sprint and feature. Here's how qualifying unfolded.
The second round of the A1GP season moved to a new Chinese circuit and gave the drivers the additional challenge of a track to learn and a bumpy surface to get to grips with. France's Nicolas Prost had been fast all weekend, continued his run of form by setting an early P1. However, it came down to the experience of Switzerland's Neil Yarni and the Netherlands' Robert Doornbos to lead the way. But it was Adam Carroll who snatched Ireland's first ever pole position in A1GP history.
With the new car and especially the tyres, it makes it a much more consistent. You know, I think as the long race goes on, the car slides around a little bit. You've got some understeer and oversteer, so I think it will be quite hard on the tyres really throughout the long distance.
The feature race qualifying got underway with USA's Marco Andretti and the Brazilian Felipe Guimarães taking to the track to post a quick early lap. Then late into qualifying 3, everyone came out in succession, and it was Great Britain with Danny Watts who went fastest by far, setting an incredible provisional pole despite only limited time with the new car. The final qualifying session saw the Frenchman Nicolas Prost on a potential pole-sitting lap run wide and spin out of contention. In the dying moments, Ireland pushed hard to improve on second but could do no better, handing Great Britain their first pole position of the season.
Overall, it's been a great effort from the whole team, you know, running the car yesterday in practice and sticking it on pole for the feature race is obviously very pleasing for the whole team, and they've worked so hard. They've had 4 hours sleep in the last 2 days, so it's a good all-round team effort.
Let's Adam, start with you, Adam. First qualifying segment of the sprint race, everything went perfectly.
Yeah, it was good. You know, it was a hard practice session, and the couple of sessions we were doing, you know, it was quite easy to get lost around here. It's a very difficult little circuit, so you know we kept it all together, and it really just came down to put the new tyres on and try and do the best, tidiest lap you could, and that paid off in the end.
Yeah, but your lap in the second session wasn't very good, was it?
The second
it was
lap?
cancelled.
Oh
it
yeah,
was
that's
cancelled,
right.
Adam.
Yeah, I know that. It was so fast we didn't was like you didn't do it.
And you've got a Dutchman alongside you, Robert Doornbos. Welcome, Robert, to A1GP. What's your experiences?
Well, it's great, first of all, to be here and to be in the car for the first time, so it was a bit tricky. Obviously, the circuit is quite bumpy, and I think in last practice we showed that we are on the pace. I had the fastest time, and Adam was only, I think, 8,000ths behind me. So when we shared lunch, the pasta, I think I should have stopped halfway because Adam did, and it was very close, and in qualifying, only 6,000ths or 600. So it's a shame to miss pole like that, but I think we're in a good position.
Well, Robert, you and Ireland, you share engineering. Did that help at all, do you think?
Yeah, we share engineering, clothes, everything.
Yeah.
No.
And like the Irish, you're a good talker.
They're
Congratulations.
Good talker, yeah, thank you.
Danny, pole position for the feature race. First time as a race driver for A1GP. You've been a rookie, and you did some of the testing with the new car.
Yeah, a lot was said about that. 2 days in effect with the problems that we had with the car. It ended up being, I think, 120k per day roughly. So, I mean, we're lucky to be here, to be honest, because the car was in bits this time last week. And in fact, 2 days ago, it was in bits. And the boys have worked through the night, last 2 nights. I think they've had 4 hours sleep. So this result in qualifying is all credit to them and thanks for the hard work.
Okay, now the first segment of the feature race qualifying was the quickest. Why was the second session slower?
I'm not sure. Difficult one that. We haven't gone through it yet, but I don't think my second time was too far off the first one, so for me it wasn't too bad. We made a small change on the car. Car was running fantastic throughout, so very pleased to be fourth and pole.
All that hard work so far for Danny Watson's Team GBR has paid off. The sprint race grid looks like this. Ireland recording their first pole start with Adam Carroll in the driving seat, and Netherlands in second. Switzerland, last season's champions, line up in third, fourth on the grid. Danny Watson GBR. As for the feature race, on his debut, Danny has a pole start for Team GBR. Ireland also on the front row. Portugal with Felipe Albuquerque in the driving seat in third spot. So ahead of the sprint race, what would it mean, Tony, to Adam Carroll to be able to convert that pole start into a race win?
Well, it would mean a heck of a lot because Team Ireland last year had the breakthrough in Mexico. They continued that form through to Brands Hatch, where he had more podiums. He's always competitive. He's always on it. The only thing for me with Adam is that he doesn't know when to come off that loud pedal because he's on it so much all the time. So he really needs to convert this into a win or at least a podium to keep everybody at Team Ireland happy and of course himself satisfied after his 2 big mistakes in Zandvoort.
Yeah, how eager do you think, Johnny, will Team GBR be to hit the ground running after missing out on Zandvoort? We heard there from Danny Watts that they've been working all hours to get this car ready for the track.
Well, I think he's done a brilliant job so far. I think if he can have a good couple of races this weekend, he's definitely put a strong foot forward for staying in the car for the next one. And as we're talking about Adam as well, no one will be more disappointed with Zandvoort than Adam. So I think he'll be out to prove a point this weekend.
So those 2 to look out for. Also look out for Marco Andretti, by the way, who's featuring today. We expect him to be competitive. OK, time to take a very short break. When we come back, in just 30 seconds' time, the sprint race from Chengdu will be going interactive. To enjoy this morning's race action, you will need to push that red button on your remote control. Let's see how they got on in the sprint race with commentators John Watson and Ben Edwards.
We've got pretty much ideal conditions as we prepare for the sprint race here at Chengdu. Brand new circuit as it is for A1GP, World Cup of Motorsport. And a good race in prospect, and people taking an active interest in what's going on around here. Neil Yarney lining up in third place for Team Switzerland, the reigning title holders, losing out a little bit in qualifying. But up front, we've got a new driver, Robert Doornbos, driving for Team Netherlands, and he's been pretty impressive so far. Just missing out on pole position. That has gone to Team Ireland's Adam Carroll. and he's looking to put behind him the disappointments of scoring no points at Zandvoort. So as the track begins to clear, let's take a look at that lineup in a bit more detail. It's Ireland's first ever pole position, their first ever front row start, with the Netherlands alongside with new driver Robert Doornbos. There's a new driver on the second row of the grid, that's Team GBR's Danny Watts. He starts from 4th position. On the third row, Philippe Albuquerque for Portugal, Nicolas Prost for France, then Adrian Zalve and Chris van der Drift for New Zealand, another man making his debut. India and Monaco are next up ahead of Australia and Brazil. Lebanon and Malaysia follow, so Faris Fawzi's got work to do. Italy and USA next up, then it's Mexico and China, and Indonesia and Korea. Cars are now beginning to line up for the start of the sprint race here in Chengdu. They are quite spread out. Are they going to be given the starting signal? Away they go, and yes, green flag, green light. We're under race conditions despite the field being spread out, and it's Netherlands versus Ireland into turn 1, side by side. Netherlands trying to do it, but it's Ireland that leads, and Great Britain going wheel to wheel with Switzerland in the battle for third, and Great Britain's taken third.
Yes, going the long way around, but he got that position from Switzerland down into turn 3, bumpy on the outside as they approach, but get clean.
Oh, Portugal on the grass behind. South Africa's moved up in a position. Giuliani goes on the attack. So South Africa into 5th, and here comes Nicolas Prost trying to go around the outside of the Portuguese driver.
Won't be able to get that done because the Portuguese car naturally is coming out. New Zealand now trying to get into the action on the bumps into turn 5. South Africa in that 5th place.
India also in the background trying to make up some ground. I think Narain Karthikeyan in the blue colours now. Different colour scheme for India this year. I think he may well have been able to gain a position or so there. He's tucked in behind the French car, Nicolas Prost. Then Monaco tucked in behind him. We're on board with race leader. It is Adam Carroll. Good getaway. Much better this time than it was in Holland a few weeks ago. And it's Ireland leading from Netherlands in 2nd place. Great Britain gaining that 3rd position from Switzerland. And as they come around towards the end of the first lap, things beginning to settle down a bit. And so far it's looking clean.
Yeah, India trying to make up ground as quickly as possible, just ahead of Clivio Piccioni in the Monaco car. So Ireland and the Netherlands clearly ahead of the field by some 0.2 seconds from Great Britain in 3rd.
So France has lost a couple of places from where they started. India, meanwhile, well, there's pretty much where they were, I think. Monaco likewise, and then you've got Australia in 11th, so that's where they started from. Not too many changes, but they've kept it clean on a tricky, bumpy and slightly dusty circuit.
On board with Team USA, Marco Andretti.
Oh, somebody's...
Yes,
Brazil. Yeah, I think so. Whether he had a problem with the car or whether he outbraked himself, he's going very slowly.
Yes, the car's going to pull off to the side of the track. But we're riding on board with Marco Andretti, Team USA, currently down in 16th place, running behind the Malaysian car as we look at China.
Yeah, trying to try and make up ground, and in the background Mexico as well, getting alongside, but it's problems for Brazil. They're cruising, they're going to have to come back to the pits by the looks of things, and it's all action pretty much wherever you look. There is Team Malaysia, he's down at 15th, so Faris has not been able to gain much ground on this first lap.
No, anybody that started beyond row 4 really was about, if anybody makes a mistake, you can capitalise on it, but don't try to force issues. Not in the early opening laps of this race. When you get towards the back end of the race, and China's spun.
Ho Bin Tong recovers it, but that's dropped into the back of the field, and there's great disappointment. I wonder what happened. Did he try and make a move? He was racing with Mexico. The USA was just ahead as the leaders come through again. It's still Ireland leading from the Netherlands in 2nd place. There is the China car, and that's dropped to the back of the field. And with Brazil dropping out or dropping down the order, that moves a few people up. Let's take a look here. China ahead.
Yeah, we've seen that turn 10 just turning into the corner, the back end just beginning to pivot around. Pendulum effect just takes over, the car spins round.
So Ho Bin Tong making a mistake on his own, and that's what we could likely see, I think, quite a lot more of here today, particularly in the longer feature race. 16 laps still to go in this sprint race, and Giuliani for Team Switzerland keeps the pressure on Danny Watts for Great Britain. Meanwhile, up front, Ireland looking comfortable. The Netherlands in 2nd place, no real threat at the moment as Brazil, well, he comes to a stop now.
I think he may just be coming to a stop to let the cars get through this part of the racetrack so he doesn't impede the progress of any. Top 4 cars all used power boost at the start. That gave the front 2 rows the opportunity to drag away as we go back to Ireland. And the first of the runners that didn't use it was South Africa in 5th and Portugal in 6th.
Yep, they have 4 power boost opportunities in the sprint race, 8 in the feature race.
Safety car is on standby due to the Brazil car being stopped out on track. That appears to have been withdrawn. we're always acutely aware that cars in dangerous positions have to be taken clearly away. There is the safety car in the pit lane, but it's not being deployed at the minute.
Nope, so okay for the moment. Third place battle between Great Britain and Switzerland. Meanwhile, Ireland have set fast his lap last time around. So the race leader just easing away. It's not by much, it's only a fraction faster than the Dutch car. But nonetheless, top two are easing away from this battle for third. Danny Watts versus Neil Yarni. Great Britain versus Switzerland. Further down the order, Team Mexico is ahead of USA. Now, I don't know what happened there because they came around 15th and 16th, but the other way round a moment ago, so there's been a change. Marco Andretti has lost a place to David Garza.
Team GBR now running in fresh air, running third to Netherlands, who are 1.1 seconds behind race leader. And Robert Doornbos alluded to the fact that he's a tall man. He's not one of the sort of pint-sized race drivers that we seem to see so much of these days. And getting himself comfortable in the cockpit, it's going to be over the duration of this 18-lap race that he's going to find that he needs to give himself as much working area as possible. So he may make a little bit of a tailoring change to the cockpit of that car for the longer feature race.
Looks like you were right about Brazil. He moved out of the way of all the other cars and then continued round. It looks like the engine's gone into sort of anti-stall, but just get your home mode, and he has got home. He's back in the pits. Portugal there running 6th, New Zealand in 7th. France a little bit on the attack there. Nicolas Prost, who's been so fast here this weekend. When you get in behind somebody, it's hard to make progress. We're on board with Nicolas now. He tucks in behind the New Zealand car being driven by Chris van der Drift, making his debut. So both these guys here are new to A1GP under race conditions. And you've got Chris van der Drift for New Zealand, Nicolas Prost for France. Right behind them, the very experienced Narain Karthikeyan for Team India.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this group of cars that we're looking at are running in the low 1 minute 18-second time lap barrier, whereas the top 4 are all running in the middle to high 1 minute 16s. And that's the difference. If you get at the front, you get the clear air, you can run at your own natural pace. But here we've got France currently running behind New Zealand in 8th place and India directly behind. These three are battling. They're not able to do what they would most like to do, and that's get to their own natural pace.
Down through that turn 10 where we saw China spin early, you can see the little areas of dampness on the apex of some of these corners. That's not overnight rain, that is actually the natural springs, the high water table here that comes up through the tarmac. Thankfully it's not causing any problem. Ireland still leading, Netherlands in 2nd place, Great Britain and Switzerland follow through. Then that gap to South Africa, Zhao consistent but not quite as fast as the leaders. Portugal next up, then New Zealand and France, India followed by Monaco. They're outside the points. Remember, the top 8 pay points in the sprint race. Australia under some pressure from Lebanon, with Malaysia joint series leaders tucked in behind.
And Malaysia's been the most active on power boost, and they've now in fact run out of that. So in the endeavour, as we watch the start, Doornbos right alongside. Look at South Africa on the left of your screen. They're trying to find a way to sneak down the inside. Portugal swerves quickly to the right and then just directly behind. All sorts of action with France going again the long way, trying to get around the South Africa car. Very difficult to go too far wide on the exit of the corner.
What's the battle between Yarni and Danny Watts here, John? Because Watts managed to go around the outside.
Well, I think what happened, Switzerland got marginally slowed by the Dutch car coming across the front, allowed Great Britain to maintain the momentum. They did get some grip on the outside of turn 1, and that was sufficient to see Danny Watts get ahead of Team Switzerland on the exit.
So that was a good move by Watts. The car was moving around quite a lot, but he gathered it together. So around to complete another lap. That means 11 laps to go. Ireland the leaders. Look at the power boost figures, and Portugal on the power boost according to the graphic there. You can see the green flash there. Portugal using the extra 60 brake horsepower. They're sitting in 6th place. They're trying to close up to South Africa at the moment. Then behind them, this group, New Zealand, France, Nicolas Prost driving well at the moment. So disappointed not to earn a front row starting position that instant he suffered in qualifying. We're looking on board from Team Lebanon with Australia, Jackaroo, the car driven by John Martin just ahead.
So not a great deal any of these drivers can do. They can't find their own natural momentum. They're always having to look a little bit further down the road with that car ahead and waiting for that car to pick up its throttle to give them then the signal that now is time to go. So when you catch yourself in a battle like this with no easy overtaking position, and with everybody using the option of power boost, if they sense a challenge coming, it's going to be really down to who makes the least number of mistakes.
Indeed, and here we are with Nicolas Prost running in 8th. So 1 point on offer to him. Ahead of him is New Zealand. The car scored well in the hands of Earl Bamber for New Zealand last time out at Zandvoort. Chris van der Drift now coming in, and not quite, they didn't really get a hold of the handling they wanted in qualifying. So bit of work to be done by New Zealand, but they're on target for 2 points here at the moment as the leaders have crossed the line once again. And Danny Watts still holding on to that third place with Neil Yarni tucked in behind. Then it's that battle between South Africa and Portugal.
Yeah, Neil Yarni beginning to pick up pace. He's just 8/10 of a second behind. Looked a little bit less than that going into turn one. And I think Neil Yarni now feeling it's time to start pushing a little bit harder, maybe put Danny Watts under pressure for Team GBR. Danny, of course, having his first race for Team GBR as the prime driver.
And China making up a bit of ground here after that spin earlier on. And they're getting past Korea.
Yeah, in part, he was on power boost. That's the difference in speed. I suspect that the Korean car maybe not quite so quick onto the straight. The more experienced Ho Ping Tung using power boost and his natural speed to make up one position. That position sadly only down in 18th.
Now let's just take a look at that again, John. Using the power boost to good effect.
Yeah, on power boost. And I mean a clear advantage coming across the start-finish line and ultimately carrying probably there maybe 5 or 6 kilometres more per hour than the Korean car.
Looking back from the Lebanese car to Malaysia's Farouz Fauzi at the moment. We did see a moment ago that Brazil had got their car back on track, so that's good news, and it means that whatever little glitch affected them has obviously been cured. We're looking though at this little group with 12th place Lebanon, 13th place for Malaysia, but that's outside the points. And right now, as it stands, France are going to take the championship lead. Instead of jointly holding it with Malaysia, they will take the championship lead as things stand, but it would only be 1 point because Nicolas Prost, there he is for Team France, sits in 8th place, still being followed at the moment by the likes of India, Monaco, Australia, and then this group of Lebanon, Malaysia, Italy are behind them, and then it's USA, Marco Andretti, then David Garza. So those two have swapped again. There's been quite a bit of changing going on between USA and Mexico, and now, as we know, China up one, they're into 17th. You're riding on board with Narain Karthikeyan.
Yeah, he's not been able to make very much progress. He did run up to the rear of the France car, but stalled out like so many drivers. They get to that point where then, as I mentioned, the momentum, it goes further towards the front of this race. The battle between Ireland and the Netherlands, actually on that last lap, on lap 8, swung marginally to the favour of the Netherlands. They were 0.3 of a second quicker on lap 8 than Team Ireland. 1.2 seconds is the advantage, and that might be looking down Great Britain at 3.5 seconds. So there's nothing from behind affecting the Netherlands, just Robert Doornbos getting accustomed to not just practicing and qualifying in an A1GP car, but now racing it, and that gap remains at 1 minute, 1.2 seconds. Lap times virtually identical for the Netherlands and for Ireland.
You're watching Clivio Piccioni driving for Team Monaco, only their second A1GP event, of course, but he's putting the pressure on Narain Karthikeyan of India, and you saw from the lap comparisons a moment ago that Karthikeyan is actually dropping away slightly from the French car of Nicolas Prost, his smooth driving style helping. Back with the leaders, John, and as you mentioned, the Dutch car a little bit closer to Team Ireland's machine.
Yeah, there was a lap 8, the gap was about just over 1.2 seconds now, it's 1.2, but it's a visual thing. You get a sense that Robert Doornbos feels that he has got the ability to maybe run down. Now, because both these teams work together, clearly they're both in a race for victory, but the most important thing is not to put themselves into such a position that they might jeopardise either of the two nations losing what would be a very comfortable 1-2 result.
Yeah, and it would be the first points on the board for Team Ireland, and of course it would be their second ever victory. They won in Mexico historically last year, and it was a wonderful day and wonderful testament to the effort that's gone in by Team Ireland over the whole course of A1's history, A1GP's history, from that Brands Hatch race. From the very beginning, Team Ireland has been one of the strongest nations, but that victory took a long time in coming. Now they're looking for their second win, but as you say, still under some pressure from Netherlands. Meanwhile, Danny Watts is looking for his first podium finish in his first outing, so that's going to be quite something if he can hold on to it.
Yes, and he is matching now the pace of Ireland and the Netherlands, as is Switzerland. All four of the front four cars running pretty much identical pace, but having Ireland and Netherlands that little advantage over Great Britain. There's a 5.3 seconds advantage from Ireland to GBR in third position, and from second position to third position is 4 seconds.
In fact, Danny Watts just set a new fastest first sector time on that lap, so he's still going pretty quickly. Meanwhile, Portugal getting that little bit closer to South Africa. That's Adrian Zhao for South Africa, Philippe Albuquerque for Portugal, and the two guys are having a bit of a dice themselves. Neil Yarni back into the car, now beginning to move around, and of course now that they've got a few laps on the tyres, they find perhaps the car changes its balance, and you could certainly see there back end of Neil Yarni's car not looking as stable as it was earlier in the race. Behind them it's still Adrian Zhao for South Africa. Philippe Albuquerque's got closer though, hasn't he?
Yes, so far, South Africa have failed to use any power boost whatsoever. Portugal's had one shot of it, and with Philippe Albuquerque closing down to the rear of that South Africa car, I suspect Portugal's going to be on it very shortly once again.
Yeah, he may well use it. I wonder, coming onto the straight. New fastest lap from Ireland. Team Ireland's just done a 1:16.3 in the lead of this race.
And they also used power boost to do that, so they wanted to increase that 1.2 second advantage over the Netherlands. It's now up to 1.6 seconds, with the fastest lap 1:16.308.
So good effort by Adam Carroll. He's controlling this race so far as the Portuguese crew keep an eye on Philippe Albuquerque to see whether he's going to be able to put any more pressure on the South African machine. Is it worth taking a gamble, though? Everybody needs to fight again later today in the feature race. They don't want to make any mistakes and do damage to the cars, but there you are, confirmation of that fastest lap. It's a 1:16.306. It's for Adam Carroll, and he's pulling away now from the Dutch car.
So Team Ireland on the pit wall, very happy with how things are unfolding. Total contrast to what we remember back in Zandvoort, and there was one of those days when it all went wrong for Team Ireland, and Adam Carroll in particular in control of the car. But back really continuing the progress, and they enjoyed a good test at Silverstone just over a week ago, and that's, I think, given Ireland maybe an advantage over some of the other teams that didn't get to run there. Switzerland was the other team that had a really good test at Silverstone, but they've been dropped in the lead of this race. Switzerland now winning with them across, starting 7.9 seconds behind this car, Team Ireland.
Netherlands were on power boost there, but it didn't really help them close up anymore. But let's just remember that Robert Dornbos, like Danny Watts for Great Britain, Dornbos is making his debut in A1, and he's sitting in a fine second place. He hadn't driven the car before he arrived here on Friday, whereas Danny Watts had at least done a little bit of running in the prototype, the test car. So Robert Dornbos doing a fantastic job in second place for the Netherlands.
Yeah, I mean, I think that his reputation as a driver who can jump into a car and immediately be on the level of performance that pretty much people who've been doing it much longer are achieving, and I think it is a signal that Robert Dornbos has got a lot of ability, a lot of talent, and certainly for the Netherlands, I'm sure they'll be very welcoming to have both Jeroen Bleekmolen, a race winner for Team Holland, and potential race winner in Robert Dornbos.
Yeah, I think they've got a very strong team there between those two drivers that look to be alternating for the rest of the year. Meanwhile, Philippe Albuquerque for Portugal definitely getting that bit closer again to Adrian Zaub, but Zaub's controlling the gap. Doesn't look at the moment as though Albuquerque's really able to mount a serious challenge, and that's the trouble. You get pretty close to the back of a car around this circuit, twisty and tight and bumpy, very hard to get alongside.
Now that's the rear view camera looking back from South Africa. Let's look and see Portugal back on power boost for the first time. South Africa is using power boost, so South Africa for the first time realizing they need that extra horsepower, those extra 10 kilometers per hour to stave off the attack from Portugal with 5 laps to go.
So Portugal has one power boost opportunity allowed still left, whereas South Africa, having used one, now has 3 opportunities to use the extra 60 horsepower. Looking over the rear wing, got the throttle and brake telemetry coming back to us as well. You've got the gears through the corners too. Second and third gear most of these corners, so really it's a question of getting the traction using throttle control. There's no traction control, of course, and again Albuquerque gets a bit closer.
Yeah, he's starting to put real pressure on Adrian Zaug for South Africa. There's not a huge amount he's going to be able to do around these tight corners in the middle of the circuit. He'll have to really wait until he comes down to the exit of the chicane onto the pit straight, and of course South Africa with more power boost to defend 3 shots against 1 remaining for Portugal.
New Zealand and France follow on. Chris van der Drift also making his debut, so is Nicolas Prost for France. A lot of new drivers up at the top end of the field and in the points at the moment. Just outside the points then, it's India versus Monaco as Clivio Piccioni, a contemporary very much in fact of Adam Carroll and Danny Watts in British Formula 3 a few years ago. He applies the pressure here to Narain Karthikeyan.
Well, the battle of Monaco and India, and Clivio Piccioni trying to get into the action, trying to steal away that 9th place from India. But look back at this battle, this is the battle that's taking place right now for 5th and 6th place.
Yeah, that's right. And Albuquerque a bit closer into turn 1, but again couldn't quite challenge. And behind them, New Zealand, I noticed, was on the power boost in that race that's going on behind, but he wasn't able to do anything. And it's still Ireland leading with 4 laps to go.
Great Britain had a bad last lap. They lost the best part of 7/10 of a second to Switzerland, and that's allowed that gap between 3rd and 4th to draw down to just over half a second.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what happened. So, yeah, you are. That's it. Danny Watts in 3rd place still. Well, he's maybe just brought it out a touch more again, but for some reason, as you say, he had a slow lap that last time around in Danny Watts in the Great Britain car, and it has allowed Neil Yarni to close up a little bit, and that's given the Swiss crew a little bit of a boost. They wonder, well, maybe we will have a chance of getting a podium finish here.
So down into turns 12, the first part of this chicane. Turn 13, you want to stay way off the curbs. In fairness to all the competitors, they've stayed off those curbs. There is the gap. Let's see what it is when they come across the start-finish line. It's down to half a second.
Switzerland using the power boost, and it's allowed him to close up, but he's not really close enough.
Oh, he is now.
Danny Watts has to protect his position a little bit, and you can really see the effect of power boost there.
Oh yeah, I think it almost caught Danny out because Neil Yarni used both the slipstream and that extra horsepower to draw right up. He didn't want to force the issue. He wasn't quite in a position to do so, but now he's in the mirror of that Team GBR car, and that's what a racing driver wants to do. He wants to distract the driver, get his attention from looking forward to start looking in the mirror one way then the other way, to try and get into the driver's head and force him into making a mistake.
So one ball with Neil Yarni. Still this race for third is pretty tightly contested. Up front, Ireland and Netherlands. Netherlands were a bit quicker on that last lap than Ireland, but not by enough. The gap is still 1.5 seconds between the two leaders, and then there's a bit of a chunk of time back to these two who are fighting for third place. Behind them, remember, that's still the race between South Africa and Portugal. New Zealand and France complete the potential points finishers, with India and Monaco rounding out the top 10.
Well, let's keep an eye on what happens with GBR and Switzerland. Are they, well, who's on power boost? None of them currently. Well, now Switzerland is, and it is Great Britain, so it's a race of horsepower down the straight. Danny's using those mirrors. He wants to know where Switzerland are. Looking in the left-hand mirror, coming down, under braking into turn 1.
Yeah, he was watching closely, and Neil Yarni goes a little deep into the corner. He's going to try and cut back on the exit, but he's not quite close enough. Laps are running out, but Danny Watts is coming under more and more pressure here for the final podium spot. Can he hold on his debut for Great Britain, or is Neil Yarni, the reigning title holder for Switzerland, going to find a way to take that bronze medal? Well, this is going to be a contest that's going to go all the way to the checkered flag.
Well, this is the one area of this event that Great Britain haven't got experience of. That is actually racing an A1GP car, and now Switzerland all over the back of GBR, coming through turn 5, 6, up through 7, then into turn 8, which lands into turn 9. Nowhere to pass, but all you need to do is keep getting inside the helmet of that driver, put him under pressure, and then when you've started to do that, just increase the pressure.
Oh, the British crew's looking nervous. The Swiss crew can sense there might be a chance to take the third place. Here we go then, coming down to the chicane, leading on to the start-finish straight, where the power boost buttons will be hit once again. Watch the telemetry.
Oh, Switzerland slide the back of the car on the exit. They lose that little bit of momentum they hoped they would have had. We've got Great Britain on power boost defending, Switzerland not using it. So now these two nations on the last lap have got one shot on. Well, they may well use it coming onto the first part of the straight. They will have to defend and to attack.
Something flew up in the air. I think it was just a little bit of debris. I'm not quite sure. Nothing to worry about, I think. Danny Watts then certainly taking advantage of that little tiny mistake that Switzerland made out of the final corner. It's just given him a tiny bit of breathing space, but not for long, because Neil Yarni closing up. But we're on the last lap now, and Team Ireland are looking good for victory. He's just gone faster again, a new fastest lap by the race leader. A 1.7 second advantage as he crossed the line, and Adam Carroll surely now heading for victory down to turn 10. He's got about a third of the lap to complete.
Yes, I mean, an absolutely copybook drive for Team Ireland and Adam Carroll. They got pole position, they used it to full effect. They staved off the attack from Robert Dorbos in the Team Netherlands car. 1.7 second advantage, and it's all over. Ireland have got the job done.
A1 Team Ireland, 6 races since they took their first ever victory, come through to take the victory here at Chengdu in China. A superb second for new man in A1GP. That is Robert Dorbos for Team Netherlands, and that puts Netherlands right in the championship hunt. And here's the battle for third, and it's going to be Great Britain who take a podium. Their first race of the new season, and their new driver Danny Watts has delivered. Crossed the line for 5th goes South Africa, managing to hold off Portugal to the flag. New Zealand's new driver is going to be the French new driver, and New Zealand takes 7th with Chris van der Drift 8th, and 1 point to Team France, and France now take the outright lead in the series, with Monaco just outside the points from India. So they got ahead of India towards the end there. Monaco into 9th place, and then Australia 11th ahead of Lebanon and Malaysia, with Italy in 14th place, USA 15th, Mexico down in 16th, and poor old China 17th after that earlier spin. A little bit of a recovery towards the end, but great stuff from Adam Carroll from Team Ireland, dominating that race really, John. I mean, Robert Dornbos pushed hard into that first corner, but after that it was all about Adam.
Yes, a demonstrative drive from Adam Carroll and Team Ireland. Pushed all the way. I mean, there was no chance for Ireland to relax whatsoever. One little error, one little mistake in a corner would have seen the Netherlands car draw right up to the back of Ireland, maybe take that lead away, but Adam Carroll has done what he was required to do, control the race, and he's done it magnificently.
Yeah, great stuff by the team. They bring the car down into Parc Fermé, and the team more relaxed now perhaps after having that win towards the end of last year. They said they didn't over-engineer the car this weekend. They really waited to put the new tyres on. They felt they had a good car. They didn't try and change too much with it. Sure enough, that was delivered in qualifying, and he's delivered again in the race there. And both Adam and Robert Dornbos clambering out. Robert Dornbos, his first ever race in an A1GP car. Same story for Danny Watts, and they're both ended up with podium finishes. That is superb. And there just on the right of the picture, Niall Quinn, the rookie driver for Team Ireland. Congratulations to him, by the way. He's just won the Formula Palmer Audi Autumn Trophy.
So a good weekend all round for Ireland. Good weekend here for Danny Watts, Team GBR, back in a competitive single-seater racing, wearing in the back of his hands a neck device, insignia of the British Racing Drivers Club. Have done so much to encourage Danny and other young British drivers, and to see some of these drivers getting the opportunity with Team GBR, well, they'll be grateful.
So the guys making their way up towards the podium. There comes Adam Carroll. Leaps up to the top, and yeah, thanks to the team as well. They've worked very, very hard to get to that point. And Robert Dornbos, he's a real character, is Robert. He's had some experience in Formula 1, in champ car racing as well, and he's delivered in A1GP.
Well, I mean, apart from doing a wonderful job, I mean, jumping into this car, never driving it prior, putting on a show like he did today, but he is a showman, and sport needs more than just people who are competitors. They do need showmen.
And what about Danny Watts? First single-seater race in over 2 years, and he brings home a podium finish. That means a lot to him. So the presentations being made now, and for Great Britain, who this is their first race of the year, remember, they only finished the car here in Chengdu. And Danny Watts, who's done a little bit of testing in the prototype Ferrari-powered A1GP car, still having to get to grips. And what amazes me is they came up with a setup on the car that worked so well in qualifying, despite doing so few laps in it.
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think when teams are under pressure, sometimes you get results disproportionate to expectations, and I think we've seen that clearly today from Team GBR. Robert Dornbos, likewise, although Netherlands have had their car coming in cold, never driving the car, first finding out about it Friday morning. I think there's an indication of the strength and depth that the Netherlands have got again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeroen Bleekemolen and Robert Dornbos together will be a major, major threat, no doubt about it. But so will Team Ireland. They can wipe away the bad memories of Zandvoort now, taking a victory in the first race of the day, and knowing they'll be starting on the front row for the feature race. So they are extremely well placed here to challenge in the early stages of the championship. So congratulations to Adam Carroll. He got the fastest lap, so that's worth an extra point. 10 points for the victory there. So that's going to bring them right up into the hunt. Of course, France will have taken the initial advantage, though, in the points. They gained one there to take the outright lead of the series before we get into the feature race. But there is the first podium of the day from Chengdu. Adam Carroll, the winner for Team Ireland. Robert Dornbos in second place for the Netherlands. Danny Watts doing a fantastic job, just managing to get past Neil Yarni at the start of the race. Swept around the outside. That was exactly what he wanted to do. Had some pressure, obviously, from the Swiss car towards the end there, but he was able to withstand it. Let's go and join Diana. She's going to talk to our top three drivers from that first race.
Congratulations, Adam. You had that under control, it seemed, from the off.
Yeah, it seemed that way. It's quite a difficult circuit. The main thing was just to get into turn one first and try and control it from there. Robert was obviously, I knew he was going to be very quick and pushing extremely hard, so I just kept my head down and tried not to make any mistakes, and it's going to be a pretty long race this afternoon.
Robert, second place today, your first A1GP event. How does it feel to be on the podium?
Yeah, it feels good. Obviously, it's the best impression you can make. It's a new team for me, and Jan Lammers gave me this chance to drive for him and Team Holland. Yeah, we started strong. We just missed the pole by 6,000, I think, and in the race it was the same. Kept each other alive going into turn 1. Which is important because there's another race, and yeah, second place, I'm very happy.
Danny, many congratulations. Again, your first A1GP experience. Been strong all weekend, limited time in the car. You must be delighted with that result.
Yeah, it's a great result, and yeah, great reward for all the hard work all the boys have put in over the week, because they put in massive hours, you know, through the night. So yeah, the third place is good points for us, good points on the board, and a great reward for the team. But see how we go this afternoon from pole.
So, the results of the sprint race here in Chengdu. Ireland the winners from the Netherlands and Great Britain, just off the podium for Team Switzerland, ahead of South Africa and Portugal. New Zealand scoring 2 points and France 1 point. Monaco finished 9th ahead of India. Australia 11th in the end from Lebanon in 12th. And Malaysia, who came in leading the points with France before this race, not in the points in the sprint race. USA down in 15th position there. China recovering to 17th place. Some good laps by Brazil. They came back out in the latter part of the race, and actually Philippe Guimaraes was going very quickly. His lap times were comparable with some of the fastest, although it was Ireland that set the outright pace on that 1:16.0. So a fascinating sprint race to get things underway here in Chengdu, and all the cars in one piece. That'll be important as they prepare for the feature.
Welcome back to Chengdu, China. A great victory in the sprint race for Adam Carroll. All that hard work for Team Ireland has paid off here in China. Confirmation then of the sprint race result from China. Ireland converting that pole start into a victory. Adam Carroll's second win in A1GP. Netherlands in second. GBR swapped places with the Swiss to bag a podium spot, and despite constant pressure from Neil Yarni, Switzerland finishing up in fourth. Tony Jardine and Johnny Kane been watching that action with me. Johnny, how convincing a performance was that from Adam Carroll?
I think it was fantastic. Very forceful into the first corner. He obviously knew that it was important to keep the lead, and really did that well. And from then on, it looked pretty easy. But as Adam said in his interview there, the track's difficult, and he had to keep his mind on the job. But really, him and Netherlands in a bit of a class of their own in the sprint race.
Well, Adam Carroll certainly held his position off the lights, as you were saying. Let's just take a look at the start of that sprint race. And Tony, how well did Team GBR do off the lights?
Well, I think it was a fantastic start. It was really, really busy. Given the bumpy nature of the track, they're all very daring. Look at South Africa on the inside. Look at France darting to the outside. Adam held on very well against Dornbos. But I think Danny Watts did a fabulous job against the champion, Neil Yarni, in the Swiss car. Look at him toughing it out on the outside there, skittering around on the track. Almost, getting a real twitch on the front end there as well, but he really holds his course and nips through into third place, so that was brilliant.
The home fans might have been slightly worried early on, because China managed to spin the car off the track pretty early on. They managed to get things back on track there, Johnny.
Yeah, just lost it under braking. I think we see a little bit later here. Just loses the back end under braking, and you know, he got back on the track and got going in the race again. Here we see him using the power boost to good effect, and big advantage on the pit straight with the power boost, and easily makes a pass.
Can we expect to see plenty of overtaking manoeuvres along that straight in the feature?
Yeah, it's longer than the straight at Zandvoort, and the push to pass power button on the Ferrari engine really makes quite an effect. But just back onto China, very, very disappointing for them. They've had electrical problems with the car. They've changed the steering wheel, they've changed the ECU twice. Ho Pin Tung, who's had his second selection, must be bitterly disappointed, as are the team, so they've got to try and do it all in the feature race.
Chris van der Drift and Nicholas Prost making their race debuts in A1GP this weekend. They're carrying the weight of their nations on their shoulders. They have been particularly good in New Zealand and France in the past. How did you feel that they dealt with the pressure in this sprint race?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, it's quite a good comparison. These guys have both been rookie drivers before, but it's their first actual event as a race driver. And, you know, they both scored points, not big points, but, you know, they still finished in the points and got some results for the team, but not quite as good a performance as they might have wanted, having had a good results both in Netherlands.
Particularly Prost, I just wanted to say that very difficult for him, having been a rookie on his first event, in the shadow of Dad, 4 times world champion, and Loic Duval, who's a winning French driver, and put them ahead in the championship. And they've expected him to go, but Loic said to him, look, don't worry, you can drop one score, trying to ease the pressure on him. But he has, under pressure, spun off, and he's salvaged 1 point.
Hey, GBR were under pressure, weren't they? Late on by Team Switzerland, having overtaken them fairly early on. Let's just take a look at this. Switzerland's use of power boost on Danny Watts with 3 laps or so to go. Is it a sign of Watts' maturity, do you think, Tony, that he managed to hold him off?
Yeah, he did, because the first time on he hadn't realised that the Swiss man, you know, the world champions of A1GP behind them there, were using the old power boost. And again, Neil Yarni was closing up right through those last couple of laps, and Neil just getting slightly sideways. I think he soaked up the pressure brilliantly, just stuck to his line on a very difficult surface.
We were very much looking forward to seeing Marco Andretti of Team USA in action today. He finished at a disappointing 15th in the sprint. He is 11th on the grid for the feature. He's been speaking to Diana Binks ahead of that.
Marco, better qualifying for this one. How would you like to see it go?
Well, even better than the qualifying, for sure. You know, we'll definitely be looking to march forward. I think this one might come down to attrition. I mean, you know, even the sprint race, I mean, it was hard to push 100% every lap, because you know, it gets pretty tough in the back section. You know, the wheel really loads up there, so you know, we'll be just looking to make no mistakes, and hopefully, you know, it's very hard to pass here, even if you have a better car than the guy ahead of you. So it's all about track position. So obviously we're a little bummed with the qualifying effort, but you know, we'll be looking to march forward anyway.
How are you adapting to these cars?
Yeah, not bad. I think it's more of, you know, I think us and the whole team just needs to have a better understanding of what these things need. So I'm sure we're in the same boat as a lot of people right now, so we're just trying to make the best of it.
Is it a difficult circuit?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think, I'm not sure it suits these cars. I think these cars need a really smooth track that really builds rubber, and we kind of have the opposite here. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. So, you know, it's a tough place to learn, but you'd rather learn where it's the toughest.
Have a good race.
Thank you.
Right.
Marco in conversation there with Diana. Johnny, just picking up on what he said there, what about the fact that the car might not suit this sort of track? Would you go along with that?
Well, I mean, a race car is designed to go around a race circuit. You know, every track has corners, lefts and rights, and it's the same for everybody. I think he's just a little bit disappointed with his performance.
He's used to plenty of street circuits, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Well, we've talked about Surfers Paradise before, but I think, you know, Johnny's qualified to talk about racing over there, and then the Americans coming over and racing an A1 World Cup. It's a different matter. You're up against Europe's best, Asia's best, you know, top South African drivers. Heat of competition now, and I could sense he was really, really upset with his performance in the first race.
Luckily, Danny Watts isn't so upset with his performance in the first race. Let's hear from him. He's been speaking to Diana ahead of the feature, in which he has pole position.
Thanks, Georgie. Yes, I'm with Danny Watts from Team Great Britain. Now, Danny, we've just had the sprint race, a great result. You must be pleased with that.
Oh, definitely. To start 4th and finish 3rd, great result for the team, and good reward for all the hard work all the boys put in over the last few days, over the last week. Because they put in huge hours, you know, working through the night. So it's a great result for them, and good to get points on the board.
How did you feel at the beginning?
I had a good rolling start into the first corner. I went round the outside of Yarni at turn 1, and then got behind Dornbos and followed him for a few laps. They were quick, and then I knew Yarni was going to try everything in the book to get past. So yeah, strategically sort of saved my push to pass till late on when I needed to defend, and then yeah, great result to be on the podium and kickstart our campaign.
How does it feel when you press that push to pass button? What difference does it make?
Yeah, it gives you another 60-ish brake horsepower, and it's enough to give you an opportunity to overtake at the end of the straight, or if you're in front, to defend from the car behind. And my engineer James was always on the radio telling me the situation about how many I had left and how many he had left. So yeah, it was a game of cat and mouse at the end, but great to come out on top and 3rd.
Now, how did the car feel? We know it's a very new car. Was the balance changing at all during that one?
Yeah, we didn't have obviously the excuse me, pit stop. So yeah, to run that amount of laps on the tyres, they're always going to go away. We anticipated that, and yeah, it was good at the start. And as we expected, they went away slightly, so the pace dropped off a little bit, but not that much. Funnily enough, the balance was there. The car was really good throughout. It was easy to drive and consistent, and yeah, look forward to this afternoon's race. It's the big one.
Absolutely. So how are you going to make any changes or do anything different for that one?
Well, we're going to have a look at the data obviously and go through it lap by lap and see what's what. It's a longer race. We're going to have pit stops this time. There's a few more variables to chuck into the equation, so it's going to make it interesting. So I mean, the big thing for me is from pole, get off the line into the first corner first, and then we'll see. Who knows?
So what's your summary of your sort of first experience of A1GP?
Well, it's only about 9 days ago I knew I was going to do it. So literally it was a case of packing my helmet and hands, getting on a plane, we're here, and then it seems weird having walked around the circuit when we arrived to nearly being over, you know, halfway through Sunday. It's gone so quickly. But I mean, like I said before, just very pleased for everyone that's put in all the hard work behind the scenes, you know, and given us a good car. They've understood it very quickly, got on top of the game very quickly, made no mistakes with the car, nothing's broke down, touch wood, and so far so good. So it's good for the team.
And pole position for the feature race, what are your thoughts going into that one?
Yeah, I think I've just got to get off the line into the first corner first, play it by ear. There's a couple of pit stops, so make sure they're clean and tidy. And then, yeah, who knows, you can never make a plan, can you? But just, yeah, fingers crossed and just keep it clean and tidy and drive the wheels off it.
Okay, Dan, for the moment, thanks ever so much. And it's back to you, Georgie, in the studio.
Drive the wheels of it. That's what he says he's going to do. Is he the sort of driver who can approach this race weekend with a sort of a old head on young shoulders, if you like?
I think so. He's obviously pushing to stay in the car for the rest of the year, and you know, he wants to show the team that he can do a fantastic job. You know, he's already got a podium in his first race, starting on pole for the next one, and I really hope he has a good result. He's a great bloke, and I think he deserves a good chance.
What would it mean for Team GBR to record a race victory so early on in the season?
I think everything he just talked about kick-starting their campaign. We have to remember, in common with 3 other teams, they haven't had their car, they've just got it. So Paul Bellringer, the team manager, and the rest of the Team GBR boys under the stewardship of Katie Clements have done a fantastic job, because as I said earlier, when I was down there, the car was literally in bits. They've finished it as they've got to China, and we thought they would be playing catch up all the time. They've got a great setup for the car earlier on, showing the experience of the driver, also showing James Winslow, who's the rookie driver who runs in Asia. He's the only other driver that's driven at this particular circuit. They walked around the circuit, him and Danny, they looked at every aspect of it, and they've come up with a fabulous compromise setup, which we hope will take them onto the podium and perhaps a win in the feature race. It would mean everything to Team GBR.
Team GBR have pole. Let's not discount the possibility, though, of Ireland recording a double race victory here this weekend, because they are also on the front row. Adam Carroll's been speaking to James Hinchcliffe.
Adam Carroll, you've already done it once today. You're starting outside pole. Can you make it 2?
I'm going to try. Yeah, the conditions are nice and hot now. It's going to be a hard, long race. So it'll be survival of the fittest, and you know, the car felt good on the out laps, so I think we're in a good position.
How does the car feel over long runs?
Yeah, it feels good. You know, the balance stays pretty consistent. It's obviously quite hard work. You know, it's got a lot more downforce than before, and this track's just extremely bumpy, and you know, it generally is just a hard track. So it's going to be a very interesting afternoon.
Now you got 2 pit stops in the feature race. Any worry about that? Pretty dusty pit lane this track.
It is, yeah. You know, I'll just come in as steady as I can, and you know, not overshoot my marks. You know, the best thing is just to do a nice steady stop and be the fastest. I think it'll, you know, pay towards the end of the race.
All right, we'll go make it 2 for 2.
All right, thank you.
So that would be a new thing for Team Ireland.
So Adam Carroll's thoughts are ahead of the feature race there in Chengdu. How physically demanding is this race day going to be? Because not only have they got to contest with a new track, they've also got to deal with the fact that they're driving in new cars in dry conditions out there as well, and there are bumps on that track.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a tough day for everybody. I think we've heard a lot of drivers talking about how physical it's going to be, and that's normally a sign that they know they're in for a hard day. You know, Adam's looking very strong, I think.
I want to talk about this man, and it's convenient that we've managed to cut straight to him on the grid, because what about Robert Dornbus? He sort of seems to have come out of nowhere in A1GP.
Well, it's because he came out of nowhere in his racing career as an 18-year-old with no experience whatsoever, which is quite unusual in motorsport. He went to the Belgian Grand Prix as a guest. He met Jacques Villeneuve, and he decided then he was a tennis pro to switch careers and become a racing driver. The year after that, he came to UK and finished second in Formula Opel, and so he went on up through his career till he became a Grand Prix driver with Minardi. What's impressive to me is that he's such a big bloke. It's so difficult for a big man to fit into a small racing driver's cockpit. If you look at the likes of Johnny next to us here, you need to be small, petite. You know, you look at the size of Hamilton, you look at the size of Alain Prost, etc. They're the ideal little jockeys. And against the grain, he really performs so well. And he must be very uncomfortable in that car.
If you're wondering why Adam Khan isn't on the grid, it's because he is too big for the car. He can't fit in the car. It is so much of a problem because he's too tall. So Pakistan missing out this weekend while they adapt the chassis of the car. And Germany as well, because they're going through a management restructure. How difficult is it going to be for those teams to get back into this championship, bearing in mind they're not going to feature until Taupo, which is 4 races in?
Well, we've said before that they pick up the data from other people, but now they can make it good.
Disrupted qualifying sessions put you further down the grid than I hoped you would have liked. What can you do from here?
Well, now it's going to be a long race, and we're going to try to be aggressive with the strategy, and the car looked really good, so we're just going to try as hard as we can and see what happens. The race is going to be very long.
Have you made any changes to the setup from the sprint race?
Yeah, a little bit, but I won't tell you, but I will try to make it for the longer race a little bit different.
How are you finding this circuit?
Oh, it's challenging, it's difficult, but it's the same for everyone, and you have to learn to drive on the bumps.
Realistically, what would you like to see from the end of this one?
Well, I'd see that top 5 would be great, but it's going to be very difficult.
Have a good race.
Thank you.
So plenty going on in preparation for the feature race. On the other side of it, we'll bring you all the action live and uninterrupted from China. Chengdu, China, all set for the second feature race of the A1GP season. Tony, final thoughts ahead of the feature. What are you expecting GBR's strategy to be?
Well, it's got to be the long game. They've got to be really consistent on this, but stay up with all the action, because they're up against Ireland, Portugal and Switzerland, the champions as well. Clean pit stops, stay with the pace, but most of all, tactically, be aware of all the boost buttons and when to use it. So it's a lot to think about for Danny.
A good turnout as well in Chengdu for their first race weekend here of the A1 season. Let's hand you over to our commentary team of John Watson and Ben Edwards. Team GBR, remember, have that pole position. Can they convert it into a race victory here in China? Let's find out.
The cars are on the grid in preparation for the feature race here in Chengdu in China, the second event of season 4 of A1GP World Cup of Motorsport. After the sprint race, we have a clear leader in the points. It is A1 Team France, the winners of the very first season of A1GP. But in this one, it's going to be tough. They're starting down in 12th. On the front row, we've got Great Britain and Team Ireland, the winners of the sprint race earlier today. And Adam Carroll will be looking to do the double and take both victories. Let's take a look at how the grid lines up in a bit more detail. It is Danny Watt on his debut in the British A1GP car who has taken pole position. Now he's looking for his first win to back up the third place he had earlier on today. But Adam Carroll will be tough to beat, and he starts this standing start, remember, from the outside of the front row. But he has a good line into the first corner from there. Portugal and Switzerland line up together on the second row. South Africa and Malaysia. Faraz Fawzi up for some good points here in this race. Monaco and the Netherlands next up. Then Australia and Brazil. Guimaraes very fast earlier today. USA, Marco Andretti making his debut. Nicolas Prost alongside. Then Lebanon and Mexico, New Zealand and India. China back in 17th ahead of Indonesia, and then towards the back it's Italy and Korea. So that's how they line up on the grid. You can see the British car there on the right hand side of the screen. So just getting ready now for the rest of the build-up and the national anthem of China.
So congratulations and please welcome to the podium to say some very special words, Yu Zaiqing, the Deputy Minister of Sport for China.
好，我们现在呢邀请我们国家体育总局副局长于在清先生呢，为我们的发车仪式呢，要开始下达发车命令。
So we're about to get that signal for the engines to be fired up here in Chengdu in preparation for the formation lap, and then they'll be released. It's a 50-lap race, this one, with those 2 pit stops. It's going to be grueling, there's no doubt about it. It's going to be tough on the drivers, tough on equipment, and everybody just getting that focus and getting ready now for a very, very demanding and long race.
Yes, I think the first hurdle they're all going to have to cross is doing a standing start for the first time with our brand new A1GP car powered by Ferrari in dry conditions. Now, I've noted some of the drivers doing practice starts during various parts of running, but now this is for real. Remember, we've got hand clutches on this car, so balancing the engine and revs.
发动引擎 Gentlemen, for the pride of your country, start your engine.
The signal is given and the engines begin to fire up. That is a good point, John. Of course, we had a rolling start, didn't we, in the feature race in the Netherlands because of the conditions. So hand clutch, the Ferrari power. I wonder how that's going to go at the start.
I would not be surprised to see a slightly messy start because some drivers will get it right, others may not. And things like the bite point of the hand clutch, just to know precisely where the clutch picks up, getting the revs right. We don't have traction control. This is between the driver and the throttle and the rear tyres.
Right, as the cars prepare to move away, they'll do a little bit of a practice start themselves here. Let's hear the thoughts of James Hinchcliffe down in the pits. James, what do you reckon is going to happen in this one?
Well, you guys were talking about it. The start is going to be crucial as this is the first proper standing start. And I was actually down at the end of pit lane when all the drivers were doing their practice start. And what's happened is Ferrari actually has something called a transmission protection software, which is stopping drivers from just flooring it and dumping the clutch, which apparently is a pretty popular technique because a lot of drivers, as they pull away behind me, were doing just that. A couple drivers were a little smoother on the clutch release. They had much better starts. I got my money on Ireland's Adam Carroll and Switzerland's Neil Yanni to make up positions in the quarter one.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens when they do get away. They got away smoothly enough. One or two seem to stutter a little bit away there, but generally they've all got away cleanly on this final formation lap and on to their last opportunity to get some heat into those tyres and brakes. Carbon brakes, of course, remember, there are the points. Just to remind you, it's France leading by just 1, but Malaysia much better placed on this grid with a chance to reclaim the lead.
Yes, they are, but of course all the focus will be at the very front of the grid with Great Britain in pole position and Ireland alongside. And having made those practice starts, simulation of what might occur in just about a minute's time, that's only practice. When it comes down to real, they are the windows for the 2 pit stops. When it comes down to the real deal, sometimes all that rationale, logic seems to slip away.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see what happens. Those 2 pit stops that have to be made either between laps 8 and 16. Well, they have to do their first pit stop then, but then a second pit stop as well between laps 24 and 32. And teams who are neighbouring one another in the pit lane may well have talked to each other to decide when they will come in. Try not to block one another in those pit stops, but it will depend on what's going on. If there's a safety car, the pits will actually be closed. They have determined that you're not going to be able to just dive in if the safety car comes out. You'll have to wait until the signal's given that the pit lane is open. British crew watching nervously at the moment. You saw James Winslow down there. He's the rookie driver for the team. Hasn't actually had a chance to drive this new car as yet because, of course, Danny Watts still counts as a rookie.
Yes, it does. But a lot of tension you can see into the GBR pits now and the Ireland pits, and you know so easily all the good work that you do in qualifying to get yourself onto the front row, that could just evaporate if you're maybe too aggressive on the throttle or not getting the balance between clutch and throttle spot on. And Neil Yarney, Team Switzerland, sitting 4th place in the second row of the grid, prepared to jump all over Ireland, and I'm sure Philippe Albuquerque for Portugal directly behind. Great Britain and Danny Watts would like to do the very same thing. They'd like to get it done actually before they get into turn 1, and believe me, all those cars in the front row of the grid will be connecting up with power boost once they get the car rolling.
So the first ever start, standing start that is, for these A1GP cars powered by Ferrari, and they'll all be roaring down towards that first corner. On the rolling start here, they were a little more spread out. There was a bit of distance between particularly some of the midfield players, but this time they're all bunched up on the grid, and we're going to see who comes out on top. Don't forget, Portugal are well up on this one. We just saw into the Portuguese pit there. They're starting in 3rd place. They could do something on the run down to that first corner, and they'll be looking for that. As you say though, John, there's a fair amount of tension and anxiety in the pits.
Oh yes, this is for real now. Rolling starts for one thing, and it was a fairly well spread out rolling start. Race director let it go. Here we've got a fixed grid, everybody much more closely bunched up.
It's Great Britain versus Ireland on the front row of the grid, with Portugal and Switzerland right behind them. Lights out, away we go. It's a good start by Danny Watts. Adam Carroll going away, but the Netherlands has stalled. Robert Doornbos has stalled. Here comes Neil Yarney. Neil Yarney trying to take second as they head down in the first corner. But Portugal, yes, up there. Adam Carroll's been pushed back to 3rd by Portugal. Portugal carrying on round the outside, but the Dutch car still stuck. Portugal into 2nd place. Ireland back down to 3rd, and then the battle for 4th between Monaco and Switzerland. Great start by Clivia Piccioni.
Yeah, 4th row of the grid and the 7th place start. But you look side by side, trying to get around the outside of the Monaco car. Nothing really. Safety car about to be deployed because the Netherlands car is stuck on the grid. So when they come around to compete this lap, they'll be then following in line behind the safety car.
So a great start by Danny Watts up front, but Adam Carroll not quite so quickly away. And there is the car of poor Robert Doornbos. Great 2nd place in the sprint race, but now right at the back. I wonder if they can bump start him and actually get him into this race. I don't know. It's not looking very promising at the moment. The leader Danny Watts heads down into the chicane, followed by Philippe Albuquerque of Portugal, Adam Carroll for Ireland, but the safety car will pick them up as they come down the main straight. That will neutralise the race. There'll be no overtaking allowed then, of course. They will have to slot in behind one another. Monaco, a very good getaway from Monaco. He started 7th on the grid, now running in, what is it? Let's check that when they come back past us.
4th place.
Yeah, 4th place, so he's done well there. Gained 3 places on that opening lap. They're picked up by the Ferrari safety car, and now the discussion is Doornbos going to be able to rejoin this race? He's lost the lap.
Cars all bunching up right at the beginning of the pit straight. I think they all sort of overran one another. They weren't maybe quite as aware that the safety car was going to be leading these cars to start the second lap, as Doornbos in the Netherlands is still trying to get that car into pit lane.
I don't know what happened to Brazil, but they're way down at the back. They started in 10th place for this one, but Brazil right down at the back now in 16th position. You can see that queue. Now let's see at the start again, John. Let's look at the replay.
Yes, pretty much a good start. You can see the Portuguese car and the Swiss car. There we have the Netherlands stuck. So Ireland found themselves being overtaken by Portugal, who started on the left of track and made it all the way across to the right to take 2nd place initially. Ireland trying to get back up the inside, get alongside, but Portugal able to consolidate as they run out of turn 2 and all the way down into turn 3.
Yeah, and I think actually what happened to Brazil, I saw it on the replay. He was behind Netherlands on the grid, so of course he
nowhere
to go. So he did well to avoid the back of the Dutch car, but that's why now Brazil's right at the back of the field. Filipe Guimarães with plenty to do. I wonder how much is it down to the fact that the track is a little bit dusty, John. Maybe one side of the track a bit cleaner than the other.
There's always that possibility. Certainly the left-hand side of the track is the cleaner part of the racetrack. That's where the drivers run at the natural approach into turn 1. We saw when Ireland won the sprint race, he pulled over to the right. Clouds of dust were kicked up as he went down close to the pit wall.
Yeah, so Adam Carroll on the dirtier side, probably not just getting the traction off the line, and therefore he lost the chance not only to challenge for the lead, but also lost that 2nd position. So you're now riding with Adam as he sits in 3rd place. But remember, this is a long race with 2 pit stops as well. Safety car leading them around, and the Dutch car is fired up and running, and he's sent back out on circuit. What a disappointment for the crew.
But look, he's already a lap down, and he's almost a 2nd lap down as the cars come up led by the safety car. Interestingly, Ireland, Monaco and Switzerland all use power boost at the start into turn 1, and interestingly enough, Great Britain and Portugal opted not to, and they were the 2 that came out as 1st and 2nd.
Well, that is really disappointing for the Dutch after that strong second place earlier. Diana is talking to seat holder Jan Lammers in pit lane.
Jan, what happened there?
It simply stalled at the start, and you know, you often see that in these situations. You know, you do the complicated things right, we've got the speed together, and then the simple things wrong. So that's what happened.
Frustrating.
Frustrating. That's the business. That's the sport. So I think he can still reconnect at the back of the field because he's just got in front of the safety car. So I'm not sure he will lose the lap. I just have to see. But
A long race yet, though.
a long race, yeah, a long season.
Thank you.
Slightly downcast Jan, but I think there'll still be one lap down. He nearly went 2 laps down, but that's going to be hard to come back from there. But remember, with the pit stops and perhaps other safety car periods, you never know, he might be able to at least get back onto the lead lap at some point.
Well, that's always possible, and that's got to be the hope that the Netherlands have, is that if there is an incident or a safety car intervention, that they're ahead of the incident, and that allows them to catch up to the chain of cars that he's trying to catch up to right now.
Lights are off on the safety car. They'll be released to race once more once they come around, and everybody will make sure they're well bunched up together. I would think they don't want to be dropping back. Just saw India going through shot. Remember, we've got new colours on the Indian car, no white on the car. It's all blue, 2 different shades of blue, 1 or 2 other new colour schemes to get used to. Brazil running the silver car with the day glow colours, but we're ready for the restart, and it's Danny Watts who leads them once more as they come through the final corner. He's quickly on the power. Look how quickly he got away there, and Portugal under major attack from Ireland. Ireland moving to the outside. Adam Carroll trying to reclaim second position here, and behind them Neil Yarni is trying to get past Monaco. Switzerland can't quite make it. Adam Carroll goes side by side with Portugal, and he could be in danger of losing his place.
Monaco could have come up the inside. Adam Carroll goes to the right to try and take ground from Portugal, but not far enough up. But we've got to watch Livio Piccioni in that Monaco car. He's just sniffing 4th place that Ireland currently hold.
Yes, that's right. So Adam has to watch his mirrors, and behind them is Malaysia. Faraz Fauzi joining in to the fun and games. Great restart by Danny Watts. He sort of found them napping a little bit. Philippe Albuquerque really wasn't on it there. Surprising. He's usually pretty sharp, but he definitely allowed Watts to make the break there, but he has held on to second. Ireland in third, under attack from Team Monaco, the new nation, one of the 2 new nations in A1GP this year, the other being Korea. Korea currently running down in 16th. Take a look at this.
So this is the restart, diving down around the outside, and no contact. So that was away further down the field. Indonesia
and Mexico.
David
was on
Garza
the
from Mexico in turn 1, just 2 into 1 will not go, and so it's Indonesia pulling across, really not giving Mexico anywhere to go. The Mexican car was there halfway up the length of the Indonesian car. Satrio Hamanto not really doing an awful lot to help David Garza.
Back with the leaders as they cross the line to complete 4 laps now, and it's Great Britain ahead of Portugal, then Ireland and Monaco. Switzerland, Malaysia follow through. Australia running in 7th, South Africa 8th, New Zealand in 9th, ahead of France, and I think they passed them on that last lap. Mexico is running again after that incident with Indonesia, but way down at the back of the field. Although remember, right at the very back, Team Netherlands, they are definitely 1 lap down. Robert Doornbos is a lap down on the rest of the field. There is South Africa's Adrian Zhao, currently running in 8th, but putting John Martin of Australia under pressure. Behind them is Chris van der Drift making his debut for New Zealand. France's Nicolas Prost is just there, but he was passed on that last lap, as I say, by van der Drift, so something went on between them, and New Zealand were able to take the advantage.
So things beginning to settle down. There's still a long way to go. 46 laps in this race. It's a timed race as well. An hour, 1 minute and 25 seconds is the option if we run out of time. But in the meantime, it's a comfortable 1.1 second lead Great Britain have over Portugal, and the beauty of all that is they've got clear air, and that allows Danny Watts to focus on what's ahead and not have to worry too much at this point between the battle going on for second place with Portugal and Ireland.
So this group, you've got the likes of India towards the back of this group, USA in 12th position, then Lebanon, then India, Italy. Brazil got past Korea on that last lap, but that still only brings Brazil up into 16th place. Disappointment being caught up behind the Dutch car at the start of this one. Great Britain continues to lead. Portugal second, Adam Carroll in for Ireland in third. No doubt looking forward to the pit stops because the crew very fast indeed on their pit stops. And Malaysia sensibly just holding in there at the moment, looking to try and score points in the championship and reclaim the series lead before we go to Sepang in a couple of weeks' time. So Fauzi needs to play a little bit of a patient game, and he's doing so. He's behind Ilyani of Switzerland, and of course Malaysia is a track that he knows and loves.
Started 6th, running in 6th. A lap ago he was having a little sniffer back at the back of the Swiss car, but the gap has now pulled out again, so it's all pretty much status quo for the top 6 with Danny Watts, Team GBR, controlling the race, slightly increasing the advantage over Portugal, and Portugal's actually eking away ahead of Ireland now, again about a second of a difference between second and third.
Philippe Albuquerque for Portugal impressed us towards the end of last season with several podium finishes in the latter part. He only contested 5 events, but he was strong, and now he's showing that sort of form again here this weekend. Meanwhile, Faris Fauzi of Malaysia trying to keep up with the reigning champions, Team Switzerland. Well, he is keeping up, but the question is, can he actually go on the attack?
Well, he is on the attack because he's on power boost right now. He's got 6 shots remaining. He put power boost in, 0.7 of a second behind the Swiss car. He did close up 2 laps ago, battled further down the field.
Yeah, India passed Lebanon a moment ago and trying to stay ahead as joining into that is Italy, all going through the debris. That's just polystyrene, that won't be a problem.
We saw who actually hit the polystyrene corner markers.
That's right, I think that might have been... Oh, and Brazil having a little look down the inside. I think the corner markers got hit with that incident between Indonesia and Mexico. Yeah, a little earlier on. But this is a good dice going on. Lebanon, Daniel Murad, who took the first ever points for Lebanon at Zandvoort, but then of course he did have that incident with China as well, so he ended up in the barrier and scored points at the same time. Italy behind him, and then the Brazilian car in these unfamiliar colours in A1GP at least, the silver with the Dayglow front and rear wings of the youngster, the 17-year-old Filipe Guimarães, who set some very rapid laps when he was on his own in the sprint race.
Well, he showed great maturity, and he's just going to have to be a little bit patient, waiting for the first pit stop win to open. We're on lap 7, so it's not very far away, and interesting to see who will take the option to dive into the pits. Ordinarily one would expect the leading cars to take that option because they do not want to find themselves trapped should we have another safety car intervention.
Absolutely.
So expect Great Britain, Portugal, Ireland, probably Monaco to make that in just over a lap from now.
Still bits of polystyrene flying up through the air, and you can see from the Brazilian car, from the onboard camera, but I don't think that's going to cause any problems. I suppose unless it gets into the air intakes, water radiator coolers, it might cause a problem. Again, look, the polystyrene in the middle of the road there, and it's got hooked up.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a problem for Portugal now. That's going to block
Brazil,
out.
yeah.
Brazil is going to block out the air going into the radiator on the right-hand side. That's unfortunate for Brazil. The debris, one of those corner marker indicators, made of polystyrene, of course, with a bit of vinyl covering it to give an indication as to where the corner goes, and the temperature will soar rapidly, in my view, on the Brazil car.
Tell you one thing I hadn't really picked up before, unlike poor old Brazil, is that China have moved up quite a lot in this race. They're 11th. Remember, they started way down in 17th, and Ho Pin Tung has actually had a first few good laps. But this is a problem. Remember, though, the pit window is
also struggling in the handling. I mean, this is clearly having a major effect on the handling of the car, because one side of the wing at the front of the car is effectively being masked by that vinyl, which has wrapped itself around the wing and the nose and almost getting entangled in the front suspension.
The pit window will open up as they come across the line, so he's surely got to come in for the earliest possible pit stop, because they've got to get that stuff out of the inlet.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, for no other reason than simply just getting the car in, removing that, enabling Guimarães to drive the car,
looks like a snowstorm,
performing as it should do, but also to keep those temperatures back at the level. Ferrari engineers are very not critical, they're very careful about running the engine at a given temperature and not to let it go over that particular pre-designated range.
Switzerland, meanwhile, are running in 5th place. Looks as though they're discussing when they're going to come into the pits and working out when it's going to be a good opportunity. Don't discount Neil Yarni from a great result here. They've got such a smart team. He can put in the laps if he gets some clear space, but Great Britain are going to go for the early pit stop. So are New Zealand. I think we'll see quite a few cars coming in at the earliest opportunity. Danny Watts has built up a little bit of a lead over Team Portugal. He's being asked to push even harder now.
Well, he is being asked to push harder, but of course he's doing the best he can. He's got that 1.5 second advantage over Portugal. He is about to come in as he peters off, enters the pit lane, and will Portugal follow? No, they stay out, so Portuguese deciding to stay out. Whether Ireland will follow Portugal on track or come in the pit lane, yes, they also choose to stay out on track.
Being very careful down to the speed line there was Danny Watts. He doesn't want to be done for speeding. He's followed in by Monaco and Switzerland. Now that's interesting, because Monaco and Switzerland are racing for 5th place effectively, and they're both in together. So Great Britain go to work. These new cars, it's one of the early pit stops with the new car for the team. Of course, it's their first pit stop. They weren't in Zandvoort.
So the Swiss team go to work, and Great Britain
GBR gets away.
So Swiss car again, polystyrene all over the pit lane, being dragged by cars into the pit lane. Problem with New Zealand, that left rear looks like it's a real struggle.
Australia had a mega stop. Australia have got ahead of Monaco. Brilliant work by the Australian crew. Got a yellow flag down at turn 1. I'm not sure what that's about at the moment. China have come out behind New Zealand, so they're looking to see if they've gained a bit of ground. But I think the big winners there was Australia. They've got ahead of Monaco.
I suspect the yellow flag is that eventually somebody's decided there's just far too much debris on the racetrack, and it's just to warn the drivers that to be careful. Ireland preparing for a pit stop. Adam Carroll currently running in 2nd place because Great Britain went in and they took that opportunity at the earliest chance. Ireland in now. Portugal stay out on track to continue leading this race for a 2nd lap.
Now remember, before the stops were made, Ireland were running in 3rd place, but they have a very quick pit crew as well. This is going to be interesting. Also into the pits come Malaysia, looking to get points to retake the lead in the series. France stays out there. Now then, watch this Irish crew go to work. They practice assiduously. They watch the times. They're looking for consistent fast stops. Looking good so far. Quite a little change on the front wing. Slight delay there, slight delay. Now where's he going to come out? Great Britain rejoin it, coming down. It's going to be fairly tight, but Ireland still have to go all the way down the pit lane. Where is Great Britain? Great Britain's going to just get the lead back. Battle going on ahead. It's going to be tight. No, Danny Watts has it ahead of the Irish car, but the Irish crew did a pretty quick stop, and it could be that they've reclaimed 2nd. We'll have to wait and see when Portugal make their stop.
Yes, that's going to be the key for the leader in this race. Great Britain will no doubt resume it. The key will be whether the battle for 2nd place, which was between Portugal and Ireland, will go one way to Ireland or will be retained by Portugal. There was a slight problem on one of the rear wheels that didn't quite go on as smoothly as we expect, but nonetheless, good stop from Team Ireland.
So Portugal are leading the race. They've not been in yet, and Ireland and Malaysia have both been into the pits. France has not been in yet. Interesting strategy from Team France. Portugal has just come in, so here we go. The race leader now comes into the pits, and we'll wait to see whether he is going to come out in 2nd or 3rd. Really, it's the battle between Portugal and Ireland that we're keeping an eye on.
So Korea and Mexico are currently under investigation for that incident at the beginning of the race in turn 1, and that no doubt will have consequences for both those teams. So it's a good job, good pit stop for Mexico. That may be good enough for them Portugal to get them back out to retain that 2nd place. But still waiting for Great Britain goes past, Ireland goes past, Portugal pulls out.
They're on track, and that's an amazing stop by Portugal. They've taken the lead, John, effectively. If anyone else, we're still waiting for anyone else to make a pit stop. India's not been in yet, but effectively that means that when everyone stopped, Portugal will be leading this race.
They are leading it in effect, because they've now got the Mexican car behind Portugal, and then Great Britain and Ireland.
Now they've got to get this plastic off the front. They've done it off the front of the Brazilian car. Interestingly, they didn't bring him in at the earliest opportunity. That surprises me. But there is great. Now look, Mexico isn't really playing a part in this in a way, but they are, because they haven't been into the pits yet. So Garza's going to fight for position.
Of course he is, and he's not required to get out of the way of any of these cars. This is a battle for position for the race. And Mexico will at some point decide to come in, peel off, and we'll get back to the status quo we were enjoying a little bit earlier. Great Britain keen to get past as quickly as possible. Dangerous to try and do it round the exit of turn 9. There's not enough room to recover before you have to brake going into turn 10.
Yeah, Danny Watts won't like this because it's costing him time. He wants to get on with catching Portugal after that brilliant stop by Team Portugal. They've taken the advantage, and Danny Watts needs to close up, but Mexico stays out there, still not coming into the pits, and this is causing real problems for Great Britain.
Is Great Britain going to go on to power boost? They must do, yes. Danny Watts is using power boost. There you see the extra 60 horsepower coming into effect. Ireland likewise not using it, interestingly, not using power boost, and consequently they're going to get trapped, as Great Britain was for one lap, behind the Mexico entry.
So Danny Watts did exactly what he had to do there, and that was get past that car as quickly as possible. India leads this race. Indonesia currently 2nd. In fact, India's just come into the pit, so that changes everything again.
And Brazil has been given a drive-through penalty, and when he left the pitch, he dropped the clutch and spun the wheels. Whether he had the speed limit button on or not, I don't know. as we see, I think Team USA come into the pits.
They've been in and they've gone back out again. I think that's Korea just coming in. Mexico getting out of the way. Now, Mexico doesn't need to get out of the way. If I was him, I would have thought I'd keep pushing because he's still to make his pit stop, but Ireland has gone through now and Switzerland will try and follow. David Garza still getting up to speed with this new car, and in fact he drove the Swiss car the other day. Switzerland were kind enough to let him have a run in the Swiss car so that he could get a feel for it before his car was completed. Well, now Neil Yarney would like a return favour, please.
He would do, but the seconds are just dropping away every lap, every sort of yard of the circuit as he waits for David Garza to give the indication that either he's going to go into the pits. He is now, and again sort of slightly wrong footing Neil Yarney, who was about to try and cut to the right to get the pass on that Mexican car.
Indonesia has come into the pit, so we do now see Portugal leading this race, Great Britain in second, Ireland in third, and then Switzerland in fourth. Someone's going very, very slowly there.
Difficult to tell. New Zealand.
It's New Zealand. Johnny's just going past our commentary position. I can see him out the window, and it is New Zealand.
I wonder, is that a similar problem that afflicted the Brazil car? You know, sort of pulling into the middle of the track and now onto the racing line. As we look further down the field, South Africa and China.
South Africa lost out big time on those pit stops. They're way down now.
14th, China 13th.
Yeah, that's a real surprise. I'm not quite sure what happened to them, but look at the standings at the moment. It's Portugal leading, Great Britain in second, then Ireland. So let's get a little bit of a roundup of what went on in those pit stops now for some of the things we didn't see. Let's first of all go to James. James, what can you tell us?
Obviously, it was very hectic down here in pit lane. GB, good clean stop, no drama, but not particularly quick. Ireland had to make a change. That held them up a little bit. Portugal, absolutely blistering stop. In and out, fastest one in pit lane that I saw. And Brazil had to serve that drive-through penalty for speeding in pit lane.
Thank you for that pitch. Diana, what can you tell us from your end of the pits?
Well, Ben, Team Australia came in and made an absolutely fantastic pit stop. The driver was straight out pretty quickly, so no dramas there. But when Team USA came in, again, quite a good pit stop. But when they left, they nearly caught up with the Brazil car that had come in to make their pit stop. So there could have been a bit of a collision in the pit lane there, but they managed to avoid that and carry on. Indonesia came in and they've gone back out. Other than that, everyone else is seriously.
Thank you very much. We saw a replay then of Malaysia for a moment getting ahead of Australia.
But Australia's got back in. I mean, that was a very close call. The Malaysia car tight against the pit wall on the right-hand side, and Australia's squeezing. So going into turn one, obviously Malaysia not able to get the speed off, and Australia come back and retake that position. 5th and 6th the battle right now.
So yeah, 5th place for Australia, 6th for Malaysia, 7th currently Monaco, 8th France, 9th USA and 10th China. So China had that poor qualifying position. They got up to 11th, if you remember, after the first couple of laps. So it's a good start from Ho Pin Tong. They've gained another place or so through the pit stop. So China now in the points, in fact, up into 10th. South Africa 11th, India 12th, and New Zealand dropping down the order with whatever the problem is. Unfortunately, it doesn't look as though they're going to score points here, but Portugal in fine form, leading the race for Philippe Albuquerque. He's got an advantage of 2.6 seconds over Danny Watts for Great Britain. Ireland still in a very strong third, Switzerland hunting them down from 4th place. And then the gap back to Australia. The car there is Korea, so that's a lapped car. There's Australia, then Malaysia. They're running 5th and 6th, followed by Monaco there in 7th. France are in 8th, and Robert Dornbos into the pits in the Dutch car.
For a long time period, Robert Dornbos was actually the fastest car on the track. That's now gone to Switzerland, but here's the battle. India, South Africa into turn one. Doing it round the long way isn't going to get it done. You've got to be on the inside to control the corner.
Battle for 11th position, that is, just outside the points. Narain Karthikeyan in the blue Indian entry, up against Adrian Zhao for South Africa. These are two experienced drivers and they're racing hard at the moment. Just ahead of them is the China car, in fact, of Ho Pin Tong. He's holding on to 10th, so that points paying position is still under threat from the likes of Adrian Zhao and Narain Karthikeyan. Looking back now from the South African entry, over the rear wing, blurring a little bit at speed, but Narain Karthikeyan, remember, only getting to grips with the car for the first time here this weekend, enjoying the power, enjoying the downforce, but now attacking to see if he can gain a place.
Well, he's just got to be a little bit patient. Adrian Zhao will not concede easily as we go back to the front, or a little bit behind the front we should say, because you see Ireland and Switzerland running, and with Great Britain in that 2nd place.
Yep, 2.7 seconds the gap this time, 1st to 2nd. So Portugal really controlling the pace of the race at the moment, at 1 minute 17.5 from Philippe Albuquerque last time.
Ireland beginning to get pressure from Switzerland. Neil Yarni getting out to a nice, comfortable pace, running about half a second or so. Well, in fact, in the last lap was just under a tenth of a second quicker than Team Ireland. Accelerating out of turn 4, wheel spin from the Ireland car. You need to be careful with the throttle not to overdrive and consequently give your tyres more work than necessary.
Giuliani just trying to keep the tyres under him, as you say, look after it as much as anything. You're back on board with Faraz Fawzi chasing after Australia. Oh, and there's a little battle as the Dutch car tries to get past Indonesia, and it's not effectively positioned because, of course, the Netherlands lost a lap early on, but it's just a question for Robert Dornbos of overtaking as many cars as he sees on track, and that's what he's going to try and do.
He needs to do that because you don't know the 34 laps in this race to go, so don't sit back and relax, push all the way as we're seeing right now. This battle with on board with Malaysia in 6th, Australia 5th, and Switzerland just ahead of them.
It's Korea. That problem is they've got caught up behind Korea, and that's what's giving Malaysia a chance here.
Yes, but the chance has sort of slipped away because Malaysia not quite so crisp. Out of turn 13, Australia on power boost, pulls out, gets ahead Korea. Now Malaysia looking to do the same thing, but not close enough. But he will look down the inside. Coming from a long way, Korea, will they be aware of the Malaysia car? I don't know if he was or not, but well done, Faraz Fawzi. You pulled yourself away what could have been a nose-damaging pit stop.
That was close, wasn't it? And of course, the thing is, Faraz Fawzi's actually used 7 of his power boost. Oh, he's gone past now. Korea moves out of the way. He's used 7 of his power boost, so he sort of felt he couldn't use the power boost there, and that gave Australia the edge because they've still got plenty left in the tank.
And Australia did take advantage of having plenty in the tank to use power boost just to consolidate that position and get ahead of the Korean car. The car, of course, they were lapping.
So last time around, the gap remained pretty much the same between the top two, between Portugal and Great Britain. And then you've got Ireland and Switzerland. There is the Swiss car of Neil Yarni holding on to 4th position. That's where he finished the sprint as well. Just looking at their positions after the pit stops and how they've gained or lost places. Australia, as I mentioned, one of the big gainers there because they've gained 2 positions from before to after the pit stop. Wonderful work by the crew there, Alan Docking and his lads, and they're always fast on the pit stops, the Australian crew, and they've proved it once again, and that's why they are now holding on to 5th place. And John Martin's driving well. He's been under a bit of pressure from Faraz Fawzi, but he's withstood it so far.
Yeah, he was able to get through, overtake the Korean car when coming into turn 1. The Malaysia car was a little bit further back, action going on with Francis putting a lap down on the Indonesian car.
And Nicolas Prost there, he's running in 8th position, and we were looking to see what sort of lap times he might achieve. Let's just see what India has been up to here. This is Narain Kart again, big slide. He's got great car control, but it will cost him time.
Yeah, so just again being a little bit aggressive on the brakes, trying to turn in, nose down, front end gets a bit of a bite. So you go further around the racetrack, catch up with the live action, 32 laps to go.
Oh, New Zealand are still running okay. They're running 13th now. I don't know what happened there. So he suddenly lost speed, crawled down the pit straight. He's now back at speed. He hasn't lost a lap or anything, but he is down in 13th position.
Well, there may be a reset button on the car that something apparently goes wrong, that you just push the button and it goes back into a mode where it resets all the electronics, and that looks to me very much as to the cause of him. He's certainly slowed down almost to the point where we saw Brazil in the sprint race having to come into the pits.
I think Hinch can tell us more about New Zealand. What's their story, Hinch?
Yeah, it's pretty much what you just said, John. He had what appeared to be some sort of an electrical problem, and it just lost all power to the car. He switched off the master, got everything reset, switched it back on. He was able to continue, so no problems right now. He's reporting the car's running pretty fine, just trying to make up some lost ground.
Okay, thanks for that. So he's ahead of Lebanon. They're the ones shadowing him, and then Italy. A quick mention that USA, Marco Andretti, on his debut in A1GP here this weekend, is in the points at the moment. So Team USA running in 9th place. They're behind Team France. Meanwhile, there's the Dutch car. As we said, he's just got to overtake everything he sees, and that's exactly what Robert Dornbos is trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly much quicker than the cars that he's right now in the bunch of, and in fact at lunchtime he had the quickest single lap of this race, so Dornbos will just push, and currently a lap down in 19th position. It's not all over yet until the flag comes out.
No, and last time around, interestingly, Portugal gained a bit more of a gap over Great Britain, so the lead up front in this race is up to just over 3 seconds as we ride on board with New Zealand. Chris van der Drift getting his first experience of racing in A1GP, and so far, well, it's been a bit of a difficult weekend. They didn't qualify as well as expected, and he's had that little problem with the engine, as we've heard, and now he's just trying to get back into the rhythm here, as behind him, Lebanon's Daniel Murad is busy trying to sort of hold on from the Dutch car. He may not be aware, of course, that the Dutch car is actually a lap down. It's probably not worth fighting him.
No, he should get that information from the pits, but we're looking here at race leader Philippe Albuquerque, and he's now got a 3.2 second advantage, and he's lapping about a couple of tenths or so a second a lap quicker as we look at Marco Andretti, Team USA, in 9th place, and he's some 6 seconds behind France, who is his next mark to try and put a move on.
Yep, but he is in the points currently, so that's got to be something that they need to do. They did score a little bit in Zandvoort with Charlie Kimball at the wheel. They've had a victory in China in the past. Jonathan Somerton took USA's first ever win. That was in Shanghai at the end of last season. Marco Andretti now just getting a little bit more used to the car, to the whole environment of racing in this series.
Well, the thing with Marco is he's accustomed to doing long distance races, Indy and other 500-mile races, so I mean the stamina's there. Of course, he's just adapting to a totally different form of motorsport to that he's been competing in the United States.
Let's see what the gap is this time. Leaders across the line. Portugal now with 3.6 second advantage. Quick lap that by Philippe Albuquerque, and in fact a good lap from Adam Carroll, who has closed the gap slightly to the British car ahead. Then the Swiss machine of Neil Yarni. Then the gap back to Australia, still running 5th, and right behind them is Malaysia's Faraz Fauzi, and then just a little bit of a gap back from these two to Monaco and France. They're only separated by 1.2 seconds, so a couple of little separate individual battles we're looking at here. There's John Martin and Faraz Fauzi. Australia versus Malaysia, still going on for 5th.
Well, we're on lap 22, and the pit lane window for the second mandatory pit stop is going to open up in a couple of laps. We saw Portugal opting not to come in at the earliest opportunity for the first pit stop, and a really superb pit stop by Portugal saw them take advantage of that and take the lead. So will they come in at the earliest convenience this time around, or follow the principle that was so successful for them a little bit earlier?
Yep, well, we'll wait to see, and can they put it together, another pit stop of that calibre. It really was an outstanding pit stop for Team Portugal. So it was Portugal and Australia that were really the two most impressive teams when it came to that first round of pit stops. But we'll see what happens in the second round of stops coming up fairly soon. So as you say, a couple of laps time, the pit window opens up again as the race leader crosses the line. 4 seconds is advantage.
Yeah, and it's every lap it's been 2, maybe 3/10 of a second. And Philippe Albuquerque has been pulling away from Great Britain. Ireland running just under a second behind in 3rd place. Switzerland now just 2.5 seconds away from Ireland, but more significantly, they're 7.3 seconds behind the race leader, and that's going to be a disappointment for Team Switzerland, who really have been, up until this race, very much the class team with their success last year.
The Korean car, they're about to be lapped by Team China, hoping to, we're still running in 10th, then South Africa and India, then it's New Zealand, the Dutch car, which is a lap down, New Zealand, and then this is a battle between Lebanon and Italy for position. This is 14th place these two are dicing over, and putting on a show. Daniel Murad for Lebanon, and Eduardo Piscopo trying to get the car down the inside, but Daniel says, no, I'm going to shut the door firmly on you there, but there's a chance for Italy to come back at him on the exit. Oh, he can't do it. Murad's got the inner line, and there's too far to go for the Italian car.
No, and the straights between these two corners are not sufficiently long to get down the inside, but doesn't mean he's not going to have another go at it. So nip and tuck between these two cars. Eduardo Piscopo keen to get that position and move forward.
There's the New Zealand car just running slightly ahead of them, still running in 13th place, back with 2nd placed car. Great Britain under a bit more pressure now from Ireland of Adam Carroll. Let's listen into a bit of the radio communications at Team Ireland.
Adam, keep pushing, stay with Great Britain, stay with Great Britain. We go longer, we go longer.
Okay, that's fairly important. They go longer, so they're going to go deeper into this second pit stop window before they make their stop. That's a big opportunity for Adam to put some quick laps together.
Yeah, well, the lead cars now are on their 24th lap, so once they've completed that, then they can come in and make the pit stop at Ireland. Keen to keep in contact with Great Britain, and then Adam Carroll being asked to keep pushing. It's an instruction you hear frequently on radio transmissions these days, as if a driver isn't pushing, I'm sure it's the last thing Adam Carroll needs to be told to push when he's doing probably the best he can.
I wonder if any of these teams have saved a new set of tyres for the second pit stop. Be interesting to know, because that could gain an advantage for somebody.
It would do if anybody had taken that courageous decision to hold one set back because of the cancellation of the second qualifying for the sprint race. May well be the case.
Yep, they get given a new set on Sunday morning, so it depends when they've used it. They may have already used it, but some of the nations may have strategically decided to leave it until after the second pit stop window, and we're almost into that now. 24 laps have in fact been completed, so as they come around next time, the pit window opens up. Portugal leading this race by 4.1 seconds. Great drive from Filipe Albuquerque, and you know Portugal doing well, but how much further can they hold on? They need another good pit stop here. Filipe Albuquerque yet to take his first win, and indeed Portugal have never won a race in A1GP. They've had a couple of second places, but a victory, well, that would be something very, very special.
Well, it's looking very comfortable indeed for Filipe Albuquerque. He's not got anybody to worry about ahead of him. He's pulling away from the field behind. He's got over 4 seconds as the team, and that looks like a fairly new set of tyres, if not already a brand new set of tyres for the Portuguese team. So just bring it into the pit lane coming through turn 11, smooth as possible, and get the speed off. Critical that he gets in and can repeat that kind of stop that he enjoyed 15 laps ago.
Into the pits comes the race leader then, Team Portugal's Filipe Albuquerque coming in with a 4-second advantage. So a good smooth stop. It doesn't need to be a meteoric stop. Ireland stays out there, Great Britain in as well. So Great Britain in from second. This is the chance for Ireland, Adam Carroll, to try and put together some quick laps.
Interestingly, with Portugal coming in, Ireland taking over the lead. Ireland was on power boost coming past start finish straight to try and take advantage as best as possible. It'll be probably 1 or 2 laps before Ireland come in. They've now got the clear air. Good stop again. 11 seconds for Portugal. Looking at GBR, just over 11.8 seconds, virtually identical. But it's Ireland that are now on the track, and they use that power boost to try and gain maybe 2 or 3 tenths of a second on a lap until they make their stop.
And that's crucial too, because Portugal have got out ahead of some traffic there, and Danny Watts comes out right in the middle of it.
Well, that's not very good for Danny Watts, because that's the nip and tuck that you get when you make your pit stops. You don't know precisely where you're going to come back out. And of course now pressure from behind from Robert Dornbos, who really is just driving his own race, but he will push Danny Watts. He's not going to sit there and just assume because Watts is ahead on the road, he's not going to challenge.
Well, Danny Watts still in with a shout of getting a solid podium. India into the pits. China were in. I noticed a moment ago. Narain nearly stalls it. No, he doesn't. Picks up the clutch once again. It's a hand-operated clutch, as we mentioned earlier, but he gets it going without stalling. Into the pits now. Now, that's interesting. They only went 1 lap further, did Ireland. This is the battle for second place then, and also Switzerland in at the same time.
Yeah, so let's see if that slick pit work that Ireland become famous for can get them back, if not into the lead, but get them closer to the battle that they were involved with Portugal.
Here we go. This crew works hard at this all the time. Can they get the Irish car out ahead of the British machine? It's going to be a pretty close run thing. Good stop. He just loses a fraction getting away. Switzerland en route as well. Now, where is the British car? Just looking out of our window, but just crossed the line, Great Britain, and I think he's lost second. Team Ireland has taken second, and Great Britain could lose another place here. No, they've got ahead of Switzerland, so that's ahead of Neil Yarni, but they've lost one to Ireland.
So Ireland have benefited from a good pit work, and just a little bit unlucky for Switzerland again, coming out behind the slower car this time, Team Korea, and the momentum that Switzerland wish to carry forward will have to wait. It's 2 cars, in fact. You've got the Netherlands car and the Korean car between Ireland and, in effect, Great Britain and Switzerland.
That's right, yeah, a bit of a sense of relief, I should think, for Great Britain from the point of view that Switzerland has got caught up, but not so much from the point of view that they've lost a position to Ireland. But Adam Carroll used that extra lap very cleverly, and a great stop by the crew. I think probably the difference was in the pit lane rather than on the track, but whichever it was, good combination of tactics. And now Danny Watts has still got to try and pick a way past. He's been past the Korean car. Let's see how that happened.
Going into turn 10 as a brave move. Nobody I've seen so far this weekend was prepared to do that. In fact, that was into the final turn, into turns 12 and 13.
Now he's got to try and get past South Africa. Not going to be easy.
Not an easy task at all. South Africa will probably use power boost. Can't see whether they're not.
Great Britain is using power boost. The extra 60 brake horsepower makes a big difference. And Danny Watts goes past South Africa. That puts him back into what is now 6th place, but that's because several cars have not stopped yet. In effect, he's running in 3rd.
Yes, currently on the road it is Malaysia, from France, from USA. Portugal in 4th place are in effect, or will be very shortly once the second round of pit stops have been cycled through, will be our race leader, with Great Britain running in 3rd place.
Absolutely right. So Danny Watts has missed out a little bit here, down to 3rd effectively once everyone has made their second pit stops. But Filipe Albuquerque and Team Portugal, they are flying here today. He's driving quickly. The question is now, John, do you think Ireland can close up to Portugal? Because we've seen that Adam Carroll's got pace. Look, I think he has gained a bit on this last lap.
Yes, he was 3/10 quicker on their first flying lap after their second round of pit stop. And you can just sense that Adam Carroll now has got the opportunity to run down the Portuguese car. We've got 23 laps to go, a long way on the final set of tyres. And we're on lap 29 of a 50-lap race. We're just over half distance.
Interesting. I just saw Malaysia and France come in the pits, and they were very close to one another as they came in. Malaysia leading the race because they hadn't made their second stop. There you are, the pit stop being made. Now France have stopped at the same time. It's going to be a close run thing to see who comes out first. I think Malaysia will have it, although they're a lot further up the pit lane. But yeah, Farouz Fawzi is still going to emerge in front of Nicolas Prost. Prost gets away, no change between those two.
The gap between the two, unfortunately for Prost, he's almost at the pit lane exit, so he didn't have to run down the pit lane on the limiter. So I would say, on balance, France have come away from that pit stop marginally closer to the Malaysian car.
Jinwoo Huang doing a good job so far for Korea. Okay, he's outside the points, he's fairly well down the order, but seen no mistakes from him so far. And also into the pits on that lap, Team Indonesia for their second stop. So it's all about Adam Carroll in a way now. Can he close the gap to race leader? That is Team Portugal, Filipe Albuquerque, and the fastest lap has just gone to Ireland.
Yes, 1 minute 16.003. Big step forward in terms of lap times over the previous.
Well, the fuel load is reducing. He's got a good set of tyres on after that pit stop. It's a perfect time to set some quick laps. Let's see what the gap is between them as they come past us. And it's Portugal now leading the race, with everyone else having made their second stop. 1.1 seconds the gap between them.
So 1.1 seconds and 1 minute 16.6 on that last lap for Ireland, 1:16.8 for Portugal. So there is a response coming from Portugal, but Ireland still have got the marginal advantage. And again, you can just see, well, the distance, what is it, 50-60 metres between the two cars on the track.
Let's ride on board with Adam Carroll. Let's just listen to that engine working around this Chengdu circuit. Really having to feather the throttle through this section. But he's trying to close up that gap. Now, let's, we've had that full round, I think, of second pit stops. Let's get down to the pits, to our guys in the pits, just find out if there was anything we missed. Hinch, first of all, did you see anything we might have missed?
Well, we've just seen Adam Carroll set the fastest lap of the race. It was a brilliant lap, and part of the reason for that, he put on a brand new set of Michelin tires, obviously giving him a little bit of an advantage when he first left pit lane.
Right, good one. And Diana, how about you? Do you spot anything your end?
Just that Team Australia came in, they had new tyres on. They had, again, a very quick pit stop, and they're running, I think, 6th at the moment, so they're quite pleased with that.
Yeah, good effort. So Australia gained a lot on the first round of pit stops. They seem to have sort of held that. You're watching China trying to get past Indonesia. This is it is for position, actually. And China, I don't know quite what's happened to China.
No, they were running just in the top 10, and now they're almost back in 16th place.
So China, having gained all that time in the early part of the race, now they're way outside the points. So that's really disappointing for the host nation. You're looking back from the Indonesian car. As Ho Bin Tong, well, he must be feeling frustrated. Looks as though they might have points here today. Something went wrong with the second round of pit stops, and they've now dropped all the way back, almost to where he started from. He's down in 16th.
Yes, something inexplicable at this point, but looking forward to the front of the race. Portugal and Ireland now the only two nations running in the 1 minute 16s in that front group, but surprisingly back with Malaysia, France and Monaco certainly running in the 1 minute 16s as well, the same pace as our race leaders.
Yeah, France running in 7th place now, ahead of Monaco in 8th. USA still running in 9th place, And I tell you what, good effort by Mexico. Remember he got involved in an incident with Indonesia earlier in this race. Actually, I think that's just about to change. He's just come into the pits this moment, and I don't think he's actually featuring that far up, so we'll see that drop down. But meanwhile, look, the top two pretty close.
Gap down to 3/4 of a second. So Adam Carroll again taking 0.3 of a second out of the lead of Team Portugal, and pressure now again being applied. So Adam Carroll with that new set of tyres, the effect will go away after about 4 or 5 laps and everything begins to settle down. But it's the initial early laps where you do have the advantage, you feel the extra bite and grip, and if you can get clear air to run in, then you've got a good advantage.
Danny Watts for Great Britain is still in 3rd place. Neil Yarni of Switzerland is running in 4th position, as the Portuguese crew nervously watching those monitors, wondering if they're going to hold on for their first ever victory. We've had some first-time winners in the Chinese races in the past. I wonder if we're going to see it again here today. Meanwhile, back with the China entry, and Team China still desperately trying to move back up the order after losing out. He's on the power boost, is Ho Pin Tung, as he tries to get past Indonesia. Indonesia going very defensive.
Yes, and well, I don't know why he had to be so aggressive about it. Ho Pin Tung looked all the way he was going to get the pass coming down the straight. You have to defend, but back to the lead of this race. It was 0.7 of a second 1 lap ago. What's it going to be when they come across the start finish line? Under half a second, 0.422.
Now power boost being used by both cars. The green flashing graphic at the bottom showing both drivers were using one of their power boosts. Both are beginning to run out. They've used half of them now, and it's Italy that's off at the side of the road. Don't know what's happened.
On at turn 12, so whether that's a mistake or whether it's a problem, but the car off fairly much off the racetrack, shouldn't see any reason for a safety car to be brought onto track.
No, that certainly could put the cat amongst the pigeons, with Adam Carroll trying to chase down Philippe Albuquerque for the victory here. Ireland looking for the double win, but Portugal looking for their first ever victory. Great Britain still in 3rd, and then behind Great Britain it's Switzerland, Australia, Malaysia, all looking to score points here today. So is France and Monaco, USA in 9th, and the final point at the moment belongs to Team India. Narain Karthikeyan's running 10th.
Well, this is all about nerve now for Portugal. He'll know that Adam Carroll can get to a certain zone behind the Portuguese car. Thereafter, the aerodynamics from Portugal's car will have a bearing on the handling of the Ireland car, and unless Portugal makes a mistake or runs out of power boost, both have currently got 4 more shots of power boost, then Adam Carroll's task is now getting more difficult as he gets closer to the Portuguese car.
Yes, and I don't think either of them are on the power boost this time around. A 1:16.7 from Portugal, a 1:16.9 from Team Ireland. Nothing much to choose between them though. 0.6 of a second to be exact as they crossed the line. Great Britain 3rd, Switzerland in 4th place. Still a way to go, 17 laps remaining. We've had all the pit stops now. It's purely down to the battle on track between Philippe Albuquerque, the young Portuguese driver who's had experience in powerful cars and came into A1GP last year very impressively, up against Adam Carroll, already a proven race winner here in Chengdu.
Yeah, it's a strong race from Team Portugal. Philippe Albuquerque has got a good racing brain. He knows what he has to do, and I hope that he might also know that when a car gets close to another car, that the limitations then come from the turbulence behind the car that's leading. And it really will come down to just either driver fatigue or a mistake, or possibly the one factor that is always unpredictable is catching up to lap traffic.
There's Great Britain running 3rd. There's a lapped car between them. So Danny Watts still holding on to that 3rd place at the moment. He's got an advantage of 3.9 seconds over the Swiss entry, so he's not under that much pressure currently. 4th place for Switzerland, 5th place still for Australia, protecting the position from Malaysia. Still quite close between those two, by the way. Fauzi's only about a second behind John Martin. France in a bit of a more lonely 7th place. Monaco again on their own in 8th. There is that battle, actually, we mentioned it, Australia versus Malaysia. These two have been tied together for a good many laps.
Oh yeah, I mean, this has been a tough battle, make no mistake. And John Martin, he knows what he has to do. Again, very much a similar situation to that that's going on at the front, far as far as you can get so far. Paris by North Australia is on power boost to try and keep Fauzi on the brakes late, looking to try and not so much get past, but just to cause the distraction to get John Martin to start looking one way and the other, and to get him to think that maybe the Malaysia car can mount a successful attack.
Well, the Malaysia car has 1 more power boost less. The Australian car has none. He used his last one there on that main straight. So if Fauzi can really tuck himself under the rear wing of the Australian car in the remaining few laps, they've got a real opportunity. In fact, he nearly tucked himself alongside the Australian car there. That would have been a bit brave. He backed out of it though.
Interestingly, just looking down through timing and scoring, fastest lap has gone to Robert Dornbos once again, doing a 1 minute 15.212.
Wow, that's worth a point, remember. So the Dutch will get something at least out of this race, and that is a very impressive time. That's faster than anything we saw in qualifying.
Well, 1:16.8 and 1:17.0 coming from the two lead cars, contrasting to a 1:15.2. Imagine if Robert Dornbos hadn't had that problem on the grid, where would he be right now?
Well, they saved new tyres apparently for this last stint as well, as did Ireland, so a good strategy. Now then, will Fauzi use, he's on the power boost, he's on it. Look, last opportunity to use power boost, he's going to have to convert this. He goes to the outside, Martin protects the inside, Fauzi goes round the outside, great manoeuvre from Faraz Fauzi, he takes Malaysia into fifth.
Yeah, very well constructed overtaking manoeuvre from Faraz Fauzi, used power boost to good effect. Australia had nothing to balance that out with, and there was just the extra 60 horsepower plus the slipstream from the Australia car, and Faraz Fauzi went the long way around, but he got the momentum and he was able to take the place away. That's a proper overtake. Watch again on board. Australia goes to the right to defend, fully entitled to do so, to take the inside line. Of course, inside line dirtier than the racing line that Malaysia's on. Malaysia can afford to break a little bit later on the cleaner line, take the corner away from Australia.
Yeah, great stuff from Faraz Fauzi, and you saw the reaction on the pit wall. This was it again, swept to the outside, as you say. He's on the cleaner part of the circuit. John Martin, not a lot he could really do about that, and Alan Mogglestone was absolutely delighted. New engineer there at Team Malaysia, and they had a bit of a sticky Friday, but they sorted themselves out on Saturday, and now Faraz Fauzi has got their car into fifth place. But look at the leaders, John, still very close between Portugal and Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, it's seesawing by 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap. It was under a half a second, now it's up to 0.7 of a second. It's only a few feet on the racetrack, and of course the difficulty when you're running in a car behind another car in these circumstances, first of all you've got to deal with the loss of grip that you will get to the front of the car. You've got to rethink what you want to do. Use your strengths obviously, but right now there's not very many weaknesses coming from Portugal to give Adam Carroll any hope of putting himself into a position to mount an attack as we get into the final stages with 14 laps remaining.
No, that's right. They've both got some power boost available to them. Ireland still has 4 uses of the power boost, whereas Portugal only has 3. France have caught up to the back of Australia. Now this is interesting, because remember, Malaysia and France are battling over the top position in the points. It's going to be pretty close if it carries on like this, and Prost will desperately want to get past Australia.
I think Nicholas Prost is closing down on John Martin and Team Australia, and Nicholas Prost could be driving himself into more than just a couple of points, 3 or 4 points. He could find himself challenging for that 6th place, and of course 6th place is a very healthy 5 points haul.
Yeah, that's right. So for Nicholas Prost, who's driven very well here this weekend, has surprised quite a few people, and some who thought, well, he's just a stand-in because Loic Duval can't do this weekend. Well, it's true, Duval couldn't do this one, but Prost has really stood up for himself. It was a great disappointment when he got caught out in qualifying. Look, they're both, oh no, he's on the power boost. Of course, Australia doesn't have any left. John Martin is defenceless, but will Prost complete the manoeuvre? He goes for it around the outside, and France moves ahead of Australia.
He's on the dirty line, that's the trouble, he went into the corner.
He's lost it, on the dirt.
Well, inevitably, he couldn't swing back across the front of the Australia car the way we saw Malaysia do a couple of laps ago. He had the momentum going into the corner, but just stayed too wide on the left on the entry into the corner, and consequently got onto the dirtier line around the circumference of the racing line. Watch again on board, almost a mirror image of what we saw from Malaysia. Down the left hand side, gets alongside, actually gets ahead, but stays out a little bit wider to give room for John Martin. But once he gets there, he's onto the dirty line. The opposite lock comes on. John Martin was already claiming traction and drive off turn 2, and even if Prost hadn't spun, I think John Martin would have retained that place.
Very close on turning, and then maybe he sort of realised how close he was to the Australian car, and as you say, gave him a bit more room, and as he gave him more room, he got onto the dirty part of the track, round it went, and another look at it here.
Yes, so again, great fights going into turn 1. Principal overtake place on the circuit for 2 cars racing, but when you're so far off the line and the track is as dirty as it is offline, it's inevitable that you're going to get caught out. And a little bit of inexperience, but it shows huge promise. Nicholas Prost certainly has got a lot of his father's ability and skill.
Well, they thought that was the replay. They thought he'd done it, and then, facing the wrong way.
The safety car currently on standby, that car. They may want to pull that car to safety because it's on a vulnerable place on the outside of the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, it's not just on standby, it's actually being deployed. So the safety car it's got the lights on, will be coming on track any moment. I'm just watching some of them go past our commentary position, the yellow flag being displayed now from the start-finish line, and that's going to set things up for a fighting finish. But look how close the leaders were anyway. Ireland were that a little bit closer last time around, and now they've all backed it off because they know the safety car's on circuit.
Yeah, it was back to just over half a second before the safety car was deployed and the yellow flags were waved around the racetrack. So it will be a grandstand finish with 11 laps of this race remaining. It's an opportunity for everybody to catch their breath because it's been a tough physical race, and the safety car will be out no doubt for 2 to 3 laps until that French car has been pulled away from the exit of turn 2. And Nicholas Prost disappointed. He'd done a great job to get himself into position, but just maybe a fraction too generous, and he was a hard charging Aussie, not prepared to concede anything. He got the sucker punch and had to run a number 2 wide, and fell off as a consequence.
Well, this really opens things up, not only the battle up front, of course, although see there that Mexico in between Great Britain and Switzerland, so that could be a sense of relief for Danny Watts, because otherwise, of course, the Swiss car would be right on his tail, and it would be a repeat of the last laps of the sprint race with the two of them challenging for the final podium spot.
The only good news for Switzerland is that Mexico is in reality obliged to get out of the way as quickly as possible, because Mexico is currently in 15th place, a lap down. So David Garza, I'm sure, will be aware that with Switzerland all over the rear of the car, when this race goes active once again, he will pull over and let Switzerland get through as quickly as soon as possible.
Let's just quickly update you, because of course France, having dropped out of the running here now, moves a couple of cars up, and that was from behind Australia. So Monaco now running in 7th place. USA, Marco Andretti is now in 8th position. 9th place for India, and that has brought South Africa, who was doing some very quick laps a little while ago, but now sort of back to the sort of general pace. Everyone's slow behind safety car, obviously. South Africa now up into 10th. New Zealand running just outside the points in 11th, but before the safety car came out, they were a long, long way behind. In fact, there is New Zealand with the Netherlands behind, trying to catch up to the queue. This will give Chris van der Drift and New Zealand a chance to close that gap. Robert Dornbos, as we mentioned before though, a scintillating fastest lap earlier on, a few laps ago, when he had the new tyres after his second pit stop. Now, we know that China dropped back. Something happened to them in that second pit stop, and I think Diana can tell us more. Diana.
Certainly did, Ben. During the pit stop window, the car came in and they dislodged for some reason the safety light on the car, and they couldn't get it reconnected, so they couldn't leave the pit lane. So it took them some time, and unfortunately they lost a fair bit of time in the pit lane. But I can see now that he's back out on the circuit and really making his way back through the pack again.
Yeah, he's up to 13th now, but that is disappointing. Just dislodging the light at the back, but it's part and parcel of the regs. It's got to be on there.
This does, and those little errors occur, and it's little errors that cost.
So the rest of them now, I think, pretty much are bunched up. New Zealand and Netherlands have caught up. So New Zealand sitting in 11th place. Remember though, the Netherlands might have fastest lap, but they're still a lap down on these other guys because Robert Dornbos stalled at the start, and what a different result they might have had. So while we've got a little bit of a pause in proceedings down in the pits, James Hinchcliffe. James, what are your thoughts on what we've seen so far, and particularly with regard to a restart coming up soon?
Well, I have to say, I was just down on the Portugal pit stand asking him what Felipe is saying over the radio. He said he's been very quiet. They do not know what his attitude is right now going into this, whether he's nervous, whether he's looking forward to it. Now, Adam Carroll, of course, his tires are a little bit newer. He is definitely looking forward to a chance to get past, but can't forget that Great Britain had a brilliant restart right at the beginning off that first one. So look for Danny Watts maybe to start mixing it up.
Okay, James, thanks very much. You've been in a position yourself like this. I remember you versus Malaysia. It can all change, can't it, in the last minute?
Yeah, it certainly all does come down to the last lap, and it's not over till it's over. So obviously Felipe Albuquerque has done a brilliant job so far, but he knows that he still has a couple laps left, and he knows there's a lot of guys who are going to be trying to hunt him down in these remaining laps.
Okay, well, thanks for that. It's going to be tough pressure, there's no doubt about it, on Felipe Albuquerque. Well, let's see if he's up to it. Let's just listen in now into a little bit of the Portuguese team radio. This was just a moment ago.
One push to pass for nothing during the lap. I will advise you when Ireland is a push to pass, but for sure at the restart he will use it.
Yeah, well, that's fairly clear. They're going to use it on the restart, and then it'll be up to the team to tell him when to use it again.
Well, they've got 3 remaining. Ireland have got 4, so marginal advantage to Ireland. So no doubt Adam Carroll will be on power boost at the earliest opportunity, and if he uses at the restart, if he's not, and he really has to be stuck to the rear of that Portugal car. Once the lights go out, the team have got to tell Adam Carroll the lights are out, and I think the lights might be out right now. It's difficult to see from that onboard camera position.
They're still on, I think.
Is the car going to peel in or not? No, it's hard to tell unless we get a good glimpse of that safety car. Nevertheless, Adam Carroll wants to make sure he's stuck to the gearbox and the lights still on of the Portugal car, that when they do come onto the straight, then it builds up revs. Power boost is engaged, and it stays engaged even though you're changing gear. The only time it disengages is when you lift off the throttle.
USA there in 8th place. That's Marco Andretti, and an opportunity, of course, now for him to try and get past Monaco on the restart. Lots of battles in prospect here, and Marco Andretti, as you mentioned, John, he's used to these long races. He's used to plenty of safety car or pace car time, so he'll be just assessing what the car feels like at this stage, and maybe USA are going to move up from 8th, try and claim 7th, perhaps go after Australia as well.
Well, the most vulnerable car in this group, and really we've got a leading group, it's not just spread out as it was prior to the safety car deployment, will be Australia, because John Martin, in fact, also Malaysia, have both used all their power boost. So Monaco behind Australia, and Malaysia and Australia are going to be even Stevens, but Monaco could try to mount an attack on Australia. He might get a mighty old slipstream off those 2 cars who have no power boost remaining.
And it does look, I don't know whether John Martin Australia has any kind of problem, but he does seem a little slow onto the straight. It's not only the power boost, it seems to me, the other guys have been able to use. He just seems to lack a bit of pace onto the main straight, which is the big overtaking opportunity. So you're right, Monaco may really be able to sort of mount an attack and attack the weakness of what seems to be the Australian car at the moment coming onto the main straight.
Yeah, we've got 8 laps to go, and Monaco have got 5 more shots off power boost, so they're well positioned, not just maybe at the restart, but the closing laps of this race to really put a challenge onto Australia and equally onto Malaysia.
So we've got to wait and see. Still, the lights are still on, I think, on the safety car, so we're not quite ready for the restart. This is pretty nerve-wracking for the Portuguese, and Luis there wondering whether they're going to be able to hold on for a victory. That would be some special moment if they could do it. Luis Vicente and the team, this new engineering setup this year for Team Portugal, Burst Services, as I mentioned earlier, they're now a sister team to Team Switzerland, so they're making the most of that experience and that knowledge. But there's Katie Clements waiting to see what Great Britain can deliver. I know her main aim, of course they'd love to have won this race, but her main aim today, even after the sprint race, was we want 2 podiums out of today, and they're still in with a prospect of getting that.
Yes, they are, and Great Britain again, like Ireland, have got 4 shots of power boost, and every lap that goes by behind the safety car, we've got 8 laps to go. That'll be 7 very shortly. So cars go across start finish line, 7 laps of this race remaining. It's going to be that or 69 minutes plus a lap, and then this race we suspect will finish with under that 69-minute barrier.
Yeah, may well do. 8 minutes to go. Just watching the clock as well as the laps to go.
In fact,
So
it's 8 minutes. It is 8 minutes. It's going to be marginal whether it's in fact 7 laps.
yeah. So I don't think they'll get the full 7 in the 8 minutes. So. Well, people enjoying the show here and finding all these different vantage points to observe, and it should be a pretty exciting climax too, with all the cars bunched up by this late race safety car. Let's just quickly remind you that Ireland started on up the front. It was Great Britain on pole position at the start of this race. Got away extremely well, led in the early stages, did Danny Watts. But then at the first round of pit stops, there was a little bit of changing around. It was Portugal that took advantage after a superb stop. Ireland were able to claim 2nd place, and Great Britain dropped down to 3rd position. Australia also had a very, very good early stop that moved them up the order. But the 2nd round of pit stops, basically Ireland then moved into 2nd place. That's where they got their 2nd place from. And Great Britain dropped to 3rd at that point. And also we saw Malaysia in recent laps managing to close up to Australia and get past. And that's why we've now got Portugal leading, Ireland in 2nd. The safety car is coming in this lap, and we are about to get the restart underway. So exciting stuff in prospect.
Adam Carroll's got to get onto the gearbox of the Portugal car, not let it get away as they come through this turn 11 leading into the final 2 corners that go on to start finish straight. He's got to get stuck to the bumper literally now, floor the throttle, engaged power boost, no doubt. Portugal's going to do the same thing out of them. All three, the 4 lead cars are all on power boost. Now it's the drag down the straight into turn 1.
So the race gets underway once again, and it's Portugal leading on power boost. So is Ireland on the attack. No change up front at the moment, but it's tight between them.
Great Britain in trouble. They got a little bit of oversteer in the middle of the corner, and also Switzerland managed to find a way around that career they were having to put a lap on. But all 3 cars, you can see, covered by just over a second.
Yeah, this is going to be tight. As you say, Switzerland has managed to get past the Mexican car, so there's now no car between Great Britain and Switzerland. Any changes further back? I don't think so. India still running 9th. South Africa in 10th place. New Zealand next up, trying to get into the points. Chris van der Drift for New Zealand, but not there at the moment. China in that next group. They're running in 13th. Korea down towards the back. That does mean this late safety car that there won't be any other traffic apart from Mexico in the middle of the pack there, which has already been passed by the leaders, to worry about. So it's a straight duel here between Portugal and Team Ireland, with Great Britain and Switzerland close behind. Mexico got into a bit of a slide there, caught it. Monaco putting the pressure on Australia.
Yeah, so Monaco's still got plenty of boost. Australia's got nothing. Malaysia got nothing, but Malaysia's managed to pull away from Australia and in a sense backing Australia back up into Monaco, who are trying to get alongside the Australia car, which didn't look particularly good. Back to Ireland.
Yeah, on board with Ireland, but not on the power boost this time. Meanwhile, further back, I wonder if actually USA is catching up to Monaco here. I don't know whether USA is using it. USA on the attack. Marco Andretti trying to do it, and behind them it's South Africa going down the inside of India. That's for position. Adrian Zaug has taken 9th place from the rain car to Cairn.
Lots of excitement going into turn 1, 2. Good overtaking manoeuvres, marginal space, but both executed. New Zealand now being overtaken by the Netherlands. Of course, that car is a lap down, and New Zealand running in 11th place. So Robert Doornbos, he may be out of it in terms of results, but not giving up, driving as hard as he can.
Well, I thought Marco Andretti for a moment there was going to get past Clivio Piccioni of Monaco, but he didn't quite. But behind them, Adrian Zaug did make the move stick on Team India. Adrian's car, I think, definitely been going better in this last stint. I think they must have made either a little change to the setup in that final stop. He's been putting in some good sector times. He looks more confident, and he certainly put a move there on the rain car to Cairn to move South Africa up into 9th place.
Well, there's the view from looking back from Team USA, and Marco Andretti running comfortably, almost comfortably in 8th place. We go back to the lead.
Yeah, Philippe Albuquerque doing a solid job, isn't he, so far? That was a big pressure point, the restart, especially with the power boost, and Ireland are on the power boost. Now that's interesting, Ireland on it, Portugal not responding. Adam Carroll, it doesn't work for him, and he's going to be down to 1 power boost after this. So interesting to see that. Now maybe some more changes going on as that Netherlands under attack from it's Netherlands trying to go round India. That's what's going on there. Remember, Netherlands is a lap down.
Yeah, Robert Doornbos, a lot of experience on dirty circuits, racing in North America. Managed to keep that car pointing. Nicholas Prost, who was in a similar situation, lost control.
Yeah, that's right. So pretty brave stuff from Doornbos, but that's pretty much what we've come to expect already from him. He's an attacking style driver. There's Marco Andretti in the Stars and Stripes car with Adrian Zaug tucked in behind him for South Africa. So those two running currently in 8th and 9th places, and as I say, South Africa looking strong here. May well put a mountain attack. How are they doing in terms of power boost, those two? Well, they've both got a bit left.
Well, Adrian Zaug, the car moving around quite a lot, ran close to the rear wing of the USA car coming through the exit of turn 9. Now closes back up again as they go into the long turn 11.
Yeah, now this is a difficult place to try and close up. You're not going to overtake into the next corner, but what you want to try and do is position yourself for the main straight. Meanwhile, the leaders cross the line, and that's 47 laps completed now as Portugal continues to lead this race. Ireland getting closer on the power boost again, but not close enough to really attack. And Philippe Albuquerque is resisting the pressure.
We've got 2.5 minutes plus a lap of this race remaining, so it's not going to go the full distance of 50 laps.
Yep, so they're running out of time now, and Adam Carroll particularly is running out of time to take the double victory here. It would still be a brilliant day for them to have a win and a 2nd place, but Adam Carroll is trying to put the pressure on Philippe Albuquerque, see if there are any cracks. And their Team USA definitely under pressure from South Africa. They've got the Dutch car in there as well. Monaco, meanwhile, shadowing every move that Australia makes. There they are, just ahead. That's for 6th place. Don't know where to look next.
Well, that's very tight all the way through the field, front to the back. And a lot of defensive driving now being implemented with just under 2 minutes plus that 1 lap remaining. And 2 shots of power boost and advantage to Portugal. Ireland have only got one left. Great Britain have got 3, but they're not going to be close enough. Some 3.5 seconds from the lead cars.
Look how close Adam Carroll is this time out of the chicane. But does he have any power boost? He has one and he's on it. He's on the power boost. Surely this is his last real attempt. And Portugal, are they responding?
No. Don't understand why not. They should do, because Adam Carroll's coming on down the outside. Can he get far enough ahead to take the position? No, he can't. And he's on the outside of the dirty part of the racetrack.
Got to be careful, as we've seen. He can't quite do it. Had a go there. Tried to go around the outside. Oh, consternation in Team Portugal as they thought for a moment that Adam Carroll had timed it right, but Philippe Albuquerque was late and deep on the brakes and managed to fend him off. Great stuff from both drivers. Both stay on the tarmac, and at the moment Philippe Albuquerque is resisting everything that Adam Carroll throws at him.
I mean, he didn't use power boost. Ireland did give Ireland the run, but he got the inside of the corner, and that gave him the opportunity to stick there, to force Ireland to go the long way around. Portugal, knowing that the long way round was the dirty way round, and the chances of getting that pass executed was not very strong.
Great Britain still in 3rd place, Switzerland in 4th, Malaysia holding on to 5th place and looking at leading the points going to their home race. That's going to be quite something. Remember, you can keep up to date with everything that's happening with A1 at A1GP.com. Live timing and scoring as well, and all the news on what's coming up next in the series. Sepang in Malaysia is the next race, and that's going to be a good one. But look at this battle still on between Portugal and Ireland.
Portugal's using its last shot of power boost to stretch that lead by another 20-30 metres going into turn 1, and he gives himself that comfortable margin. No more challenge from Ireland available under power boost. It's going to come down to the last lap.
Monaco on the attack for Australia's position. That is for 6th. Clivio Piccioni moving one way, then the other. Might have a bit more grip on the inside as John Martin tries to defend, but there's surely no way to do it down into turn 3.
No, that was very good attempt by Clivio Piccioni, but John Martin again had it covered.
Meanwhile, Marco Andretti's got the raging Robert behind him. Robert Dornbos, who's still just trying to pick him off. It doesn't make any difference to his position, really. He's down in 16th, a lap down, but he's going to try and get past.
Yeah, but he's got ahead of South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's done well. He's really driven superbly. Such a shame that he stalled at the start. Without that, I think we'd have seen him featuring for a possible podium finish.
Yeah, the point is that USA was under threat from South Africa, and that threat's just evaporated.
Yep, that's certainly broken up that battle, hasn't it? Look at Adam, still very quick, and they're coming around this time. They'll be going on to their final lap here. Philippe Albuquerque has so far resisted Adam Carroll, but is he going to do it this time as they come onto the main straight? Neither of them have any power boost to use. They're going to come across the line and go on to their final lap. Across the line they go, and it's still Adam Carroll attacking and trying to take that position from Philippe Albuquerque, but Albuquerque has it under control. Down towards turn 3 they go then. Philippe Albuquerque looking for the first ever A1GP victory for Portugal. And remember, there's going to be a Portuguese race as part of this season 4 campaign. What a way it would be. I mean, that's in the second half of the season, John, but still it would be massively important to go there with at least a victory.
Yes, and also going to a fantastic new facility in Portimao. Again, this battle with John Martin and Monaco getting very close indeed as they come out of turn 3.
Absolutely, and USA not far behind. You know, this could still change here, but we're on the final lap. They're all running out of time to make any changes. Adam Carroll surely not close enough to put the pressure on Portugal anymore. Philippe Albuquerque has driven absolutely brilliantly here today, and it does look as though Portugal's going to hold on to take their first ever victory. They've had second places in the past, and he himself has finished second, but Philippe Albuquerque takes A1 Team Portugal's first ever win in the series. A fantastic drive from him, also from Adam Carroll, with a win and a second place here today in Chengdu. And third, another podium goes to Danny Watts for Team GBR. Switzerland has to settle for 4th. Malaysia comes home in 5th.
Outstanding drive from Philippe Albuquerque, got the lead through great pit work and consolidated under threat for the second half of the race all the way from Ireland, and did a magnificent job. It was going to happen at some time. Philippe Albuquerque, outstanding young talent coming through A1GP, and today that's been confirmed.
Now it's time to celebrate. Now they can relax at last. And Mark Gallagher is still very, very happy with second position. Adam Carroll's driven superbly. He threw everything he had at Philippe Albuquerque, but Albuquerque was just a little bit too strong. There are your top 3. just moving around in order because Great Britain's just gone to the front of that little queue. But I think Danny Watts is well pleased, as he should be, and well satisfied with his work today. 2 podium finishes for Great Britain on his debut in the series. But Adam Carroll also picking up 10 points in the first race and then 12 points in this one. That really puts Team Ireland into the series hunt. But Malaysia will go to their home race with the series lead thanks to playing in 5th place here. Let's go and hear from seat holder for Portugal, Luis Vicente.
Luis, your boy did the job on the car, your boys in the pits did the work as well. Just a fantastic result for you guys.
Well, I don't really have words, you know. I always waited for this moment. So really happy for the entire team, for all the hard work we have been done in 4 years, and thank you very much to Tony Texera and to all our sponsors, to all my crew, you know, to support of the family back in Portugal, and thank you very much. A1 is fantastic. Thank you.
It's important, a good result for you guys, especially important considering we're going to Portugal for a race later this year, hoping to continue this momentum up to then.
I think it's fantastic for us. I think this year really can have a shot to the championship. I hope we can keep this level, and you know, we had a bad start in Zandvoort, but I know the team can do the job. I know the driver can do the job. I just hope we can really have the luck to be there and try to get the fight to Portimao.
All right, go congratulate your driver. Congratulations.
Thanks, James, and what a moment it is. We've got another new winner in A1GP, and that is always very, very special indeed. That means now that some 17 nations have won races since it all began, and Portugal, the latest nation to add their names to the list. We've seen some great results from them in the past. Álvaro Parente was very strong for Portugal in the early seasons, and then Felipe Albuquerque sort of burst onto the scene last year and got those podium finishes that he enjoyed, but coming through to take the win, well, it's something that Adam Carroll knows well.
A fight till the very end from Team Ireland in China today. Portugal able to do just enough to fend off the challenge of Adam Carroll. Welcome back to Chengdu. Confirmation of how the feature race ended. Portugal recording their first win in A1 Grand Prix, taking that first position from Ireland. A 1-2 for Adam Carroll this weekend. GBR finishing the day in 2 third place finishes for Danny Watts. A commendable effort from him this weekend. Let's talk about Adam Carroll first of all, shall we? Seeing as he's made a big impact this weekend. I've written down here, Tony, he's a terrier. He is though, isn't he? He doesn't let go. Once he's got his sights on that win, he doesn't let go.
He's great, and when he's on form like this and making up for Zandvoort, where he was so good and promised so much, here he's delivered with a first place and a second place. Everybody's delighted for him, for Ireland, because the breakthrough that they had last season, they're sustaining that form. He was putting pressure on Portugal at the end. I think he was superb.
Yep.
Has he got the sort of fighting spirit that could make him a real title challenger this season?
I think so. You know, he's been strong last season. I think probably feels slightly more comfortable in the championship this year, and knows the team, engineers and things like that. So it all seems to be working very well for them this year.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the feature race in more detail, shall we? At the start, Tony, what did you make of this?
Well, at the start, again, it was the first standing start for the new powered by Ferrari A1GP, and it didn't disappoint us at all. They all got off the line except poor Robert Dornbos. He nearly got hit by Brazil, and Brazil did a great job, Guimarães, to avoid him. But of course, that meant Dornbos, we were deprived of having him fighting at the front. We saw him coming through the field, but it wasn't enough for them.
Pit stops certainly played an important part, didn't they, in the outcome of this race in the end. Let's take a look at the first set of pit stops, and in particular with a note on Great Britain and Ireland here, Johnny.
Yeah, Great Britain, one of the first stop. Quite a good stop. Ireland slightly quicker, and they actually got into second place. But the people who got the best result of all the pit stops was Portugal. They stayed out slightly longer, and they made use of that and a very fast pit stop to actually get the lead.
That effectively where the race was won.
Yeah, and it's very difficult in the pits. You know, I think Albuquerque just attacked his mechanics slightly more and made up that ground, but very dusty in the pit lane, very easy to make a mistake, and he pushed it there, and that made a big difference, I think.
Well, as you said, it was something like 3 seconds faster for the Portuguese team than GBR and Ireland. And I think the fastest of the lot was something like Australia, 1.5 seconds quicker than that. So fantastic teamwork by the pit stop boys. But the Irish guys kept their cool.
The first pit stop fairly important. So too was the second. This fairly pivotal to the outcome of the race as well. In particular, when GBR came out in this traffic, Tony.
Yeah, well, that was the problem because Ireland again had stayed out that one bit longer, and there'd been a radio message for Adam Carroll from Gallagher on the pit wall to say, look, we're staying that bit longer, and that in fact they got into second place there. And when Danny wanted to come out and then get behind Adam Carroll and attack, he couldn't because he was stuck in traffic with people like Correa. And he had Robert Dornbos around him, who he was 1 lap down. He was a great mobile chicane, so he was relegated to third place, but he kept it to the end.
We did see some great examples of power boost out there on this Chengdu track. Let's just take a look at one that went a little bit wrong, because no sooner had Malaysia taken their power boost opportunity on Australia, France did exactly the same, almost a carbon copy manoeuvre, except the outcome not quite the same, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Prost, he's just slightly later at getting alongside, and that pushes him slightly wide in the corner onto all the dust, and I'm afraid he dropped the ball a bit. You know, very disappointing for the team, you know, especially for the big picture of the championship. Lost out on some valuable points for them today, unfortunately.
Yeah, saw plenty of polystyrene out there on the track as a result of a crash earlier on.
Yeah, well, I don't know. No, you look at Eric Boulier now. First of all, he sees him make the pass and goes into a nice little polite clap, and he goes, oh my goodness me, we've just lost the lead of the championship. We've got one solitary point from this. Where is Loic Duval? Bring him back. That was sad for Nicolas Prost, I felt. I don't think the polystyrene had much of an effect. He was already too wide, as Johnny said. He'd gone too deep. Don't forget, he also lost it in practice when he was going too fast, too deep, even though he was on the dusty side of the track when he lost it during qualifying for the feature race.
Let's fast forward right to the very end and see Ireland's last-ditched attempt on Portugal, because they pushed it all the very way, didn't they? And unfortunately, Adam Carroll just not able to steal this opportunity.
But this is Adam, you see. He's pushing all the way through the pit stops, the in laps, the out laps, right through till the absolute death, having a go. They went in after the last safety car, 4 power boosts to 3 power boosts of Adam, but he waited and waited, and they ended up equal, and he very nearly did it. But we mustn't forget Albuquerque, the young driver, soaked up all that pressure and took his very first win. He was mighty.
Let's take a look at him then, enjoying his moment out there on the podium in Chengdu. 4 different nations won 4 races on offer this season. Do you get the impression, Johnny, that this could be a fairly competitive and open championship?
Yeah, I think so. Probably more so at the start of the season as all the teams get to grips with the car. I think you'll find certain teams start to come stronger as the season progresses, and the same teams will start to crop up more often, I think, as the year goes on.
Okay, thanks chaps. Hopefully it's the start of many battles between Ireland and GBR to come as well over the course of the season. Let's just show you how things stand going into Malaysia, which is in 2 weeks or so time. They go into their home race on top of the table with 28 points from Ireland in second on 23. France also equal on points with Ireland. New Zealand have 20 points, as do the Netherlands at the moment. Great Britain in 8th spot. Lots more motorsport action coming away here on Sky Sports. It all starts tonight at 8:30 on Sky Sports Extra with live NASCAR, the penultimate race in the chase for the Sprint Cup, the Checker O'Reilly Autosports 500 from the Phoenix International Raceway. Then on Monday, 9:30, Sky Sports Extra. It's our weekly motorsport show this week, following the final round of the Formula 3 Euro Series from Hockenheim and the Jordan Rally. And then A1GP, as we said, back in 2 weeks' time from Sepang in Malaysia. Qualifying live on Saturday, November the 22nd from 6 a.m. on Sky Sports 2. And race day, including live and uninterrupted coverage of the feature race, starts at 5:30 in the morning on the Sunday. Another fairly early start for you. Now, Adam Carroll said he'd come here to win. He was as good as his word. See you next time.
Take me for a ride in your vicious car and drive until our head spins. Stab me through the arms with your blissful knives and let me stay for 3 nights. Let me take the light through your open eyes and then I'll walk you through your. I wanna play guitar in your head's garage and make you feel back to the future. We are Debbie on a mission, yeah. We are Debbie on a mission, yeah. We are Debbie on a mission, yeah.
More sport, news and views at skysports.com.